So we got big news tonight. The Supreme Court has struck down Biden-Harris's Title IX gender identity reforms. Gender identity will not be protected. We'll get into that story a little bit later because we do have very interesting and more concerning news. I mean, that's a huge story with the Supreme Court striking this down, but Secret Service is pulling from Biden's detail to a certain degree and moving them to Trump's detail. And I kind of find that to be a little bit weird, just to be completely honest, because it doesn't quite make sense. Joe Biden is the president. Why would they take security from him and give it to Trump? But we also had a mechanical issue on J.D. Vance's plane. Donald Trump had a similar thing. And also a month ago, someone tried to kill frontrunner Donald Trump. So I just think this is a particularly interesting turn of events, especially considering Ted Cruz's prediction and Jack Posobiec's that Kamala Harris will be president before Election Day. So we'll talk about that. Then, of course, I mentioned the Supreme Court. Tim Walz is getting slammed because he has this ad with Kamala where he's like, I eat white guy tacos, which is just beef and cheese. And they're like, haha, you silly white man with your mayonnaise and tuna fish. And then someone dug up this like award-winning recipe of like a turkey taco hot dish that he's got. And it's just like, why did he lie about that? That's such a weird thing to do. So we'll talk about that. Plus, you know, a lot of people think that this election is going to come down to Gen Z. They always think it's the youth vote. A lot of people think it'll be a minority vote. It never really is. But, you know, I had it was Danny Polishchuk the other day telling me about the rents in New York City. And so I'm looking it up. And I got to tell you, no wonder Gen Z is starting to swing for Donald Trump because the rent is just too damn high. So we're going to talk about that and more. Before we get started, my friends, head over to castbrew.com. Buy coffee. If you want coffee, if you like coffee, Appalachian Nights, a dark roast, everybody's favorite. Close second is Ian's Graphene Dream. You can see Ian attaining enlightenment on the bag with his graphene-themed bag. And it's low acidity, so it's good on your gut. If you want to support the work we do, Cast Brew is a cultural endeavor. All of the proceeds are going towards us reinvesting into the company. So we're trying to set up this physical location where people can hang out. So castbrew.com, but also head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member to support our work directly. But for $10 a month, only a couple cups of coffee, oh, you see how I did that, per month, you can help us fight fake news, help us by sustaining this show and the work that we do, and you'll get access to our Discord server where you can hang out with like-minded individuals as well as our uncensored members-only call-in show Monday through Thursday where you actually get to call in. You can join the show, talk to us and our guests. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Blaire White.
Thanks for having me. Always so fun to be here.
Yeah, who are you? What do you do?
YouTuber, podcaster, social media person.
Right on. And we got Elad hanging out.
He's feeling shy tonight. He's not ready to talk yet.
So, in fact, Elad, you guys are going to love this. I hope you guys are ready who are watching this live. Elad rented an electric vehicle instead of a gas vehicle. And he's late because he has to keep stopping to charge it. Oof. And it takes a long time to do. And so I just got to say, like, what are you doing renting an electric car? So in the meantime, there is a chicken in his seat as I don't even know if he's going to make it. But Hannah Claire's hanging out.
Yeah, I'm hanging out with Blaire and maybe Elad, maybe not if he doesn't show up. I'm Hannah Claire Brummel. I'm a writer for SCNR.com, Scanner News. Thanks for tuning in tonight. We should get started.
Here we go. We got the story from the New York Times. Secret Service pulls from Biden's protective team to guard Trump. This is weird. In the aftermath of an assassination attempt last month, the agency has shifted members of Biden's protective team to the Trump campaign. So, just a quick question. Could it be that one of these agents was the lady who decided to leave her post without notice to breastfeed in a room, like a closed Secret Service room? Did you guys hear about that?
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
But I thought that was somebody who was already assigned to Trump.
I know, I'm kidding, but like, no wonder Trump needs extra security if this is what the Secret Service has to offer.
And why would Biden? He doesn't leave the bed anymore.
And that's a fair point.
That's maybe why they have free people on his detail. I assume they only give Biden the best. Like the talented agents are with President Biden, you know?
They're probably just like hospice nurses wearing Secret Service lapel pins. But the thing about this story is the immediate thing everyone thinks of is something going to happen to Joe Biden like by November that results in Kamala becoming the president?
That's the energy I feel. I feel like she's going to somehow, some way become president before the election because then it's the incumbent. And then it's why would anyone vote against, we finally have a female president. We're going to ruin it in like a month or whatever. Yep. I think it's possible. It would only work in their favor, and they're willing to do anything that works in their favor.
See, I'm not entirely convinced it would work in their favor. I think it might help, the Biden legacy because they're trying to decide that he's going to be this like great president. He's rolling out all these initiatives that the media's not covering right now because there's no point.
Cancer
but she's walking this weird line where she is wanting to claim the victories of the Biden-Harris administration while also like kind of keeping them at an arm's length so that she can say, oh, well, I'm not responsible for those things, especially like she's talking about the economy today, you know, definitely with like the Israel-Palestine stuff. And so I think if she was definitely the president at the end stretch here, there'd be no way for her to untangle herself from the Biden-Harris administration the way she wants to.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. I guess I'm just expecting anything and everything now because of how insane it's been.
It has. It's so wild. I keep thinking it's only been a couple weeks. It's been like 4 weeks since the Trump assassination attempt, which is another crazy thing to say.
Feels like 4 months.
Yeah. And before that, it was all the trials. And before that, or it was debate and then all the trials. Like this year has been quite packed.
Y'all are frogs in a pot boiling. That's all I can say. Like, we've gone from street clashes between far left and right wing factions in 2017, 18, 19. There were some murders. There were people taking over the streets. And you had the Summer of Love as the big culmination. Now we're well past that. We're at the point where it's like, oh, yeah, someone tried to kill Trump. The media's basically forgotten about it already. Secret Service is pulling from Joe Biden, a one-term president who has stepped down from running for re-election because he's too old. Kamala Harris is trying to act like she's not actually in this administration. If aliens came down, I'd be like, okay, okay, all right.
Right.
I just don't have the energy anymore, you know?
I think that's how a lot of voters feel too. I mean, it's too much to keep up with.
Yeah, I was floating the idea in my head the other day. So the campaign is so atrocious, Kamala's, and it almost seems like an SNL skit. Obviously, it seems fake. It is fake. It's very astroturfed. But I'm almost wondering if they know they're going to lose, assuming elections are fair and they can't actually steal it, and so they're just raising money. Is that like all they're doing right now? Is just raising money?
There are political consultants who are like, I don't know. We just have to get our checks now while we can.
Yeah. I don't know. That's what it feels like to me. But also that's hinging on the idea that the elections are fair, which all this is for nothing, even the discussion of all of it, if they're not. So
no, I think it hinges on the idea that, you know, people are self-serving.
Yeah.
I think there are people who are in politics and probably any career where they don't actually care about like the values or the outcome. They're there to make money, to have influence, and then move on to the next thing. I'm sure there's a ton of political strategists who are like, oh, sure, Kamala, we really think you're great and first female, whatever. But actually, you know, this is just a stepping stone in their career.
Yeah.
So someone's asking if I'm burnt out. No. What I'm saying is I don't have the energy. It's everything has happened. Like someone shot Trump in the head. It went through his ear. Okay. But that counts as his head. And they were trying to put it inside of his head. I don't know what else you could like at this point. What crazy thing could happen? And then we're trying to figure out what the news is today, and we're like, oh, the SCOTUS thing is really big. And then I see the New York Times Secret Service pulled from Joe Biden, and it's like I'm hoping, who was it mentioning? Blaire, were you mentioning this, that he's just sleeping? So maybe the reason they're pulling the Secret Service is because they just got hospice nurses down there now, and no one really cares.
What's the need? Yeah.
What's the need?
Well,
or they're setting it up so that when Biden something happens, then they can say, we were unable to get to Joe Biden in a timely fashion to save his life because we were too busy protecting Donald Trump. And Donald Trump was insisting on doing outdoor rallies when we told him he should not. And then they'd make it his fault.
Have you seen the reports that they're going to use bulletproof glass to protect Trump at these outdoor rallies? I actually think that's really fascinating because on the one hand, yes, I do think Trump needs better protection. I think obviously what happened in July is a huge failure on the Secret Service part. On the other hand, they're going to put him in a dome on an outdoor stage to make him look like some kind of Zoom, like the Pope Mobile? Because that made the Pope look so relatable, right? People felt like he was just a normal person. I mean, I really do think that's interesting that like in the guise of saying like, we're doing this for you to protect you, they're actually kind of putting walls between Trump and his supporters.
Well,
in a way, though, I mean, it would be working in his favor in the sense if he can throw really huge rallies again. I mean, when he's allowed to do these outdoor ones, it's thousands of people.
Yeah, but those are just people who already like him.
Right. The rally stuff doesn't even matter that much.
I mean, this is the thing that I think, I don't know, look, I'm not, Trump brought in Corey Lewandowski, and that's great, but Donald Trump doing rallies, and everyone's showing these huge lines, and it's just like, right, who's willing to stand in line for Donald Trump but a Trump supporter? Where can Trump go to actually get new fans? I mean, it's good that he's on X, I guess, but we'll see. I mean, you're in Austin, right?
Well, yeah. And I will say this, I think that Trump is both the least radioactive he's been all 3 election cycles since he, entered politics. And he's also the most liked. I mean, I will say that every kind of group of people you can even imagine, there's just more Trump support rather than less. There's more in 2024 than 2020.
What are you seeing in Austin?
In Austin, it's a lot of Trump support, like a lot. And it's Texas,
Really?
but it's blue, it's a lot. I mean, at the very least, no one is into Kamala, which I don't know how much that says about voting for Trump, but
Have you seen the Grok AI photos that people are making?
all the coconut trees,
Is everybody making coconut trees?
a lot of coconut trees.
Yeah, I made one of Kamala falling out of coconut trees. No, but so Grok, which is X's artificial intelligence, has no restrictions. There were a lot of pictures of Trump and Kamala hooking up.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's the first thing people made when they were told they had an unrestricted AI image generator. I'd like to stress this to everybody. Grok, if you're on, what is it, like Twitter X Pro, or I say Twitter X Pro, whatever it's called, you get access to their AI, and it's unrestricted. Someone made Donald Trump in the cockpit of a jumbo jet with a rifle flying towards the Twin Towers. Like, they're making everything. But first, like, I think the first thing everyone started posting is there's one going viral of Trump sitting with Kamala Harris, and he's like got his hands on her belly, and she's pregnant, and she's like looking at him and smiling.
Oh, I think I saw that one.
People have gone nuts, dude. That's why I'm saying, like, if aliens landed, I'd be like, all right, I guess.
Who do you think is more mad about those images, the Trump campaign or the Harris campaign? I
Harris
feel like
campaign.
the Harris
Probably Harris.
Trump laughed. The Trump camp people started busting out laughing when they saw that. But maybe that's like a man versus woman thing.
I like that they're leaning more into like fun and meme culture. Obviously, that was a huge factor in 2016. And I think of like the Elon video, the AI video of them dancing and just having more fun with it. And we were talking about earlier, I think that he is actually being seen as the joy candidate, despite the labeling of the other side being the joy campaign by Gen Z. I think Gen Z is super pro-Trump right now, which is new because in 2020 and 2016, young people didn't like Trump at all, like at all.
What do you think Trump's biggest challenge was in 2020? Obviously coming out of COVID, but were there other ways that his campaign struggled?
I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm also heavily biased. Like I was in 2020 just begging the universe for Trump to win. I was living in LA under COVID lockdowns. All I could think about was just vote for Trump, vote for Trump. I don't know. I just know that he's more popular now than then, which is good.
He is, but I don't know if the meme energy is with Trump this time around. Trump posted that, you see the Elon Trump doing Staying Alive that he posted? Yeah, I think that's cringe. That's just me. And Madonna posted in 2016 the Hillary Clinton girls video. Do you remember that one? Madonna posted a video of a cartoon of her and Hillary Clinton dancing together. And I know that they didn't have AI back then, so that was the best they could do. And so then Donald Trump's posting this, like him and Elon Musk dancing to Staying Alive. To be fair, the models for the actual dance they're dancing really well. That's fantastic. Yeah. And then they put Trump and Elon over it. And I'm like, I don't know if that's the meme energy you want. Because it's Hillary Clinton level energy. And dude, a bunch of Trump supporters got so mad at me for saying that. And I'm like, I don't care. Dude, Madonna did that with Hillary Clinton. It didn't work out for her. I don't care if you think it's funny or not funny. It's like a boomer meme, I guess. And then you've got Kamala Harris with the coconut tree meme. And here's the warning, man. When Trump was running in 2016, a lot of the memes were making fun of him, but in a way that didn't go after him politically. And so it gave Trump the air, it gave him the space. The coconut tree memes, that's the argument people are making right now for Kamala Harris, is that everyone making fun of her with the coconut tree and the unburdened by what has been, all they're saying is her name and branding her over and over and over again. And that's good no matter what. Now, if the memes were like, Kamala on her knees for Willie Brown or something, that could get really bad for her. That's why Trump would brand the other candidates like Lil Marco and Lion Ted. But right now, it's Kamala Harris being a goofball. It's like she's silly, she's laughing, and she's goofy. And this is the game the media is trying to play. So I'll say this one more thing. Donald Trump's doing these rallies, and he's doing these press conferences where he's basically preaching to the choir. And the media then takes everything and lies about it to everybody else. I don't know what he's doing or what his plans are. I mean, it's literally like, I don't know what his plans are. I'm hoping he has some to reach out to new people.
one of the most effective things I've seen online is videos where people are like, we haven't seen Kamala Harris in 3 years. And all of a sudden she pops back up. Like there was one of this guy, and I guess she went to go see like Team USA basketball when they were training. And it's her walking in. She's in like a suit and, you know, she looks like a principal in the middle of a high school basketball, like in her heels and her pantsuit. And they pan to all the players and they're all kind of like looking at each other like, why is she here? And I think that those clips of her kind of resurfacing where you don't expect her are one of the best parts of the internet. It's maybe not the strongest moment in meme culture, but there is this underlying current of like, oh yeah, I kind of remember Kamala Harris. Oh, she's going to run for president now?
Yeah.
I think there are people who don't feel any kind of connection to her. And that's why they try to foster this like, but they're weird and we're fun and cool energy.
I think you have to kind of gauge where like super normie people are and what they're kind of saying, whereas I'm very plugged into just left and right TikToks about the election right now, and a lot of the middle of the road people are the lines that really resonate with them are, you've been in office for 3.5 years. Day one was 3.5 years ago. That's a big one. I think Trump should continue hitting. And just the idea that there's no policies on one side, there's policies on the other side. She's trying to, you know, roll some out, but they're insane. Or copied, right?
When Trump said day one was 3.5 years ago, yeah, it was actually funny too.
Yeah, and
it was like Kamala keeps saying she's gonna on day one she's gonna fix it. Day one was 3.5 years ago. What are you doing? I started laughing when I saw that. That was good. That's the line, because everybody I know, like whenever this comes up, everybody instantly says, "You're the vice president. What are you talking?" Like if I get elected on day one, I'm going after Big Pharma. It's like, do it now. What do you? She just wants you to suffer a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Also, not to say that, you know, it shouldn't be a huge priority for Trump to reach independent voters, new people, et cetera. But I think there also is something to be said about the fact that social media is doing a lot of the work for him, because the internet's never been as free as now. Like Elon really set a standard that other apps have like followed. Like TikTok's way more free. I was banned on TikTok in 2021 for saying something really small about gender, just perma-banned for life. Whereas now people are straight up very pro-Trump in TikToks, which would not even be allowed.
No, I think it's all fake. I think it's all fake. I think the reason why you're seeing more pro-Trump TikTok is because of the threat to ban it.
Well, yeah, he's
early.
The candidate that's not.
Early on, Republicans wanted to ban it. Now Democrats want to ban it over the Israel stuff, and Trump's like, no, we're not going to ban it. I think TikTok is intentionally pushing Trump memes because they want Trump to win, because Trump has said, I won't ban it now, and the Democrats are the ones trying to get it banned. I also just think, the TikTok traffic is all fake. So
it's very highly, you know.
So there's this viral video of a woman, and she pulls her pants down in an AT&T store, and then she's like yells that I have a PP or whatever, and then they're like, ma'am, you need to leave, and she's just like, oh, makes weird noises and then runs out. And people were commenting like, why would a person make this video? And it's like, well, duh, because she's being rewarded for it on social media. You go to her TikTok account and she's got 500,000 followers. You go to her YouTube and Instagram, On YouTube, she had like 58,000. It's not bad. But most of her videos had 100, 200 views. She was getting no traction doing these weird videos where she pulls her pants down. She's wearing underwear. And then on Instagram, 16,000 followers. Again, no traction. On Instagram, for some reason, she's getting hundreds of thousands. And all the comments are laughing emoji, LOL. No real substantive comments. Some of them are. In my personal opinion, and this could be wrong, I don't know, I think it's just algorithmic bots on TikTok to make people think this is where I should dedicate my time and energy because I'm getting followers here. And simply put, if you're an influencer of any kind, if you're a personality, if you're a public figure, your following is across the board. Mm-hmm. If you are famous on television, you're going to have a Twitter following to a certain degree, depending on, and it all correlates. Your YouTube account, your Instagram account, your TikTok. I find it very strange. There's a lot of people on TikTok. They have big followings, but then they have no following literally anywhere else, and no one's ever heard of them, but they act like they're really big. And I'll say this too. Dylan Mulvaney actually has followers on other platforms and other accounts. Mm-hmm. That's true. But this person pulling their pants down. So that's why I think all that is TikTok is promoting people who are engaging in psychotic, delusional, degenerate, and nuisance behavior to encourage Americans to do these things, which is detrimental to our society.
Yeah.
And wrapping all together, they're propping people up.
I think it's a couple things with the strange discrepancies with numbers. I think that there's a really low crossover to get followers on your Instagram, YouTube, et cetera, from TikTok, partly because it's like almost less personal on TikTok. People are scrolling super fast. It's less invested. People that sit down for a YouTube channel, which is where I started, there's a really big investment. It's like, I'm going to sit down to watch a 20-minute to an hour-long video. And then also a lot of bots. That's clear. Because I know people as well that they'll have like 10 million, followers on TikTok and then an Instagram with 10,000. It's like kind of crazy.
This was a big thing during MySpace when they had the music player. For those that are Gen Z won't know this because they were babies. But the MySpace player, whenever someone would load a song, it would add to the count. And there were some people you've never heard of, like Ring Ding Zazmataz, and it's like some rapper and he's got 47 billion views.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, no, you don't. Like, no, you don't. They were botting and they were manipulating it so that they would look big. And it does work. And this is the scary thing. I don't know if it's going to work forever. I've met people who would, like, they when I worked for these other media companies, you'd get these pitches where it's like, oh, I've got 10 million followers and I can do this for you. And they'd be like, yeah, look at this guy. He's got 10 million followers. Do you think we should bring him in? I'm like, fake. I was like, dude, like, look, he's got 10 comments. Like, come on. What's the point of a follow? Let's say his followers actually do pay attention to his posts. But out of 10 million, only a few thousand watch his videos. Who cares if he has followers? It's worthless, whether it's real or fake.
If you're trying to be an influencer and you're marketing yourself to companies, the conversion rate is the biggest thing. I think what you said about YouTube is really interesting because I've seen like totally non-political lifestyle, influencers that I follow put a poll saying, well, do you want to see me more on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok? And overwhelmingly, if they have a base on a platform like YouTube, that's where people want to see them, which I think speaks, it speaks to the attention span issue. Like you said, they're more invested, so they want more details, they want longer content. But I also wonder if the younger generations are more selective about the social media apps that they're on. I think, at least I feel like I remember I got Instagram either in like early college or maybe late high school. Like it had just rolled out and you were kind of already on Snapchat and you were doing other things. And I knew people who still had Tumblrs or like whatever it was. And now this generation that has always had access to social media maybe just says, oh, I only want to be on TikTok. I only want to be on this one place. Whereas, the influencer marketing really relies on you having an ecosystem of places that people can follow you.
It's also the lowest effort to go viral. It's 9-second videos. So
let's talk about Tim Walz. We'll make fun of this guy. We have the story from Newsweek. Tim Walz accused of lying about his white guy tacos. This is the weirdest thing. And Rolling Stone is like, the right's all mad. The right gets heartburn over Tim Walz joking about spicy food. No, it's because he's lying about weird things. Look, let me just play this clip for you guys. You can watch it. Oh, geez, here we go.
Like I have white guy tacos and
what is
like
that?
black,
like mayonnaise and tuna? What are you doing?
pretty much ground beef and cheese.
That's
and
okay. Do you put any flavor in it?
No.
Oh.
Here's the deal. No, they said to be careful and let her know this, that black pepper is the top of the spice level in Minnesota,
I'm the first vice president, I believe, who has ever grown chili peppers.
I'm trying to expand my food knowledge.
I'm just going to go off and say that is probably the stupidest thing I have ever heard. There's probably several vice presidents who have grown chili peppers. When I was in kindergarten, we grew chilies or whatever. Like they were like, it's a project. You put the seed in the dirt, and then you water it, and then the plant grows. But we had we came from an agrarian society. Like a couple hundred years ago, when this country was founded, everybody was on a farm. Yeah. Anyway, I digress. Tim Walz is like, oh, I eat white guy tacos. It's beef and cheese.
It's like gross, like white guilt pandering. I hate it so much.
It is.
So
but
gross.
Then later on, Newsweek points out that he had this award-winning hot dish. They call it turkey taco hot dish. He actually won an award, and it's got diced chilies and chili powder and other things in it. I got to be honest, it's a weird thing to investigate. Like, hearing Tim Walz be like, I just eat beef and cheese, I'd be like, okay. But someone looked it up and they're like, no, Tim Walz has an award-winning taco recipe and the people must know. And then, okay, I guess it's a good thing because it's like, why is he lying about this?
Right.
To seem more like of the
Folksy.
stereotypical white guy that like the progressive left has created, right? He doesn't even use seasoning. Like it's so gross to me because this comes like right around, yesterday Joe Biden did this joint appearance with Kamala Harris where he said that the right is trying to start a race war. And then we have this guy trying to play a character of like a bumbling white guy to impress the diverse vice president of the United States. Like, this is not the direction we want to go in. This is weird and gross.
You know what this is? This is exactly what Yale said. This is a white liberal talking down, like lowering himself as he speaks to a black person. You know that story, right?
How white liberals speak to minorities.
This is what he's doing. He's basically just like humoring her. Yes, white man no have spice. That's right.
Yeah.
Because he's racist. Because he's a racist guy. Dude, everybody's got allspice in their cabinet. Everybody growing up's parents has a spice rack or like some kind of like the idea that the only spice we have is black pepper. Or should we have a grocery store? What do they have in Minnesota? Save-On? I don't know. What's Kroger's? What's in Minnesota?
I'm not familiar with Minnesota's grocery store, but they have changed. I mean, the other thing is, like, I was telling Blaire this before the show. Taco Bell was started by this guy from California who wanted to start a hamburger stand, and then he went to where and he came back and he's like, oh, they're everywhere. And so he basically made like what we would deem the very basic version of the taco, a flour tortilla. You know, it's got shredded cheese, ground beef, whatever else. But like even Taco Bell, even the grocery store sells taco seasoning. So like the idea that like this guy is so incompetent, he doesn't even know how to season something, like, and you want him to be in charge of anything. And also her response is weird to me too. Like, what is that? Tuna and mayonnaise?
What? That's not a taco.
Like, I don't understand why this like weird racial pandering is okay for them, and they're also saying it's the right that's going to start a race war. It's so
he's literally pandering to a black woman to like, this is what the white liberals do. Yeah. White conservative would be like, I put chili powder, salt, little garlic, and some onions. Sometimes I do jalapenos. It's like, okay, that sounds like a normal taco. Yeah. Right.
He's the white guilt caricature. And unfortunately that's the caricature they needed as the VP. They needed that. And it unfortunately resonates with a lot of white people.
If she were to win, this is what's going to be her entire relationship with him. You know, the way they would say that like Joe Biden would be kind of the like bumbling but nice guy, like being like, Obama, let's get ice cream and wear friendship bracelets or whatever. Like, it's always going to be her like explaining cool culture to bumbling white Midwestern guy. I mean, he could have been like, oh, I have a taco hot dish. And that would have really played up the Midwestern element, right? Like a hot dish is a specific, like,
what is that?
It's, I think, like a casserole. And that's very Midwestern to me. Like that you would have an award-winning casserole
recipe.
You should
talk like this, don't you know?
He could play that up and really like be like, oh yeah, I'm salt of the earth American in that way. Instead, he chooses to be like, I'm a dumb white man. I don't know anything better. Kamala, please help me. Like,
that's the state of white Democrats right now. You know, there was a lot of viral tweets when Kamala first got installed, because you can't say that she got, voted for, but when she was installed, a lot of viral tweets saying, white women, just get over it. Whatever you have to deal with now to vote for a black woman, get over it now. They were literally just guilting people into it. Like, it's really ugly. And it's a big statement about also, this is the side that wouldn't sit down for any interviews, still haven't. Not even past tense. They're currently hiding. And so they put out a scripted interview in place of a real interview. It's like insane.
Yeah, and their whole relationship is so strange to me. I mean, when she released that call, which was obviously so staged, clearly they had already had this conversation. They're like, let's release this video where she's sitting at the conference table in her suit, like she's a strong woman, and he's like this folksy guy in jeans at his hometown, and he's so excited to get this call from out. Like, it's all fake. It's so fake.
Yeah, but people love reality TV.
But
Trump
this
should be doing this.
Like, look, Love Island has 1 million episodes. People are not going to pick actual reality TV over this. This isn't bringing anyone to them. It's just kind of
I don't know.
flat.
When it comes to elections, they're giving people the movie treatment. There's no campaign policies. She wants to represent everything to everyone all the time, whatever they want them to be. They're going to make fake situations. She's running fake headlines on Google. Google's like, well, I guess she's allowed to do that. The Kamala campaign isn't running ads on why she should win. They're taking news articles, rewriting the headlines to make it seem like there's good things coming out about her, and then running that. Her whole thing is fake. That's true. But I think that works better than this. Conservatives keep trying to do this. I'm gonna argue. And like, I got to tell you, smart people. Yeah, I know everybody watching right now is like, no, Tim, like that's what it takes to get me to vote. Yeah, well, you're smart. You're watching a show with disagreement. Most of these people are sitting there with drool pouring outside of their mouths and they're just like, dumb cut.
I agree. I've never seen a candidate target the low IQ voter more than this one. It's like insane. And I wish I was like exaggerating. I think they're literally banking on just blind hatred of Trump. So they got that voter on lock, and then just really, really stupid people.
They're betting on the back end of the bell curve.
Yeah.
They're like, let's just,
But But that's why all their their arguments are a bit about fear mongering, right? Like they want low intelligence, emotional voters to support them. And I think that is not a long-term strategy for success in the country. Maybe it wins them this election, but in terms of our culture and what we're driving towards, like just getting people to stare at each other all the time and say like they're going to take something from me and they're going to ruin my life, and have this like very negative way of dealing with reality is going to force America to break.
Trump should just promise ridiculous things. He should be like, when you vote for me, I'm going to pay off your mortgage. We're going to pay it all off. No more mortgage, free houses. Kamala says she's going to give the housing credit to like young people and all that stuff. Trump should just come out and be like, okay, I'll do one more. Like if we're promising literally anything and you can't
Free
even.
houses.
Yeah, free houses. You're up. What are you going to offer? And she's going to be like, 2 free houses.
You want
And
a
then
car?
Yeah. Tesla's for everybody. Elon's on my side. You want a Model S Plaid? Elon's right here.
Yeah. I mean, look, people love the promise of free stuff. The reality is somebody pays for it. And that's been the biggest problem with the Biden administration. I mean, they promised all of this student loan debt and they were just like, we'll get the money from wherever. And then totally fairly, it was challenged in court and they can't just do this, right? It's the like immediate reward factor. And I remember in 2016, a lot of people I knew being like, yeah, I don't know, I'm going for, but Bernie sounds kind of cool because free college, right? And I was in college at the time and, paying for college is extremely expensive. And I could see where that happens, but like, it's not that it's free. It's not like the price goes away. You just pay for it somewhere else.
But if you're only targeting low IQ voters, they don't know that. They don't know that the price gouging policy is, dangerous. They don't know that these things actually cause less economic prosperity rather than more. So it's sad, but she is banking on that. And I do agree with Tim that it's like that does, I think, work better than trying to state the case intelligently, which is sad. It is sad.
And that's why she comes up with all these slogans, right? It's the Trump
Have you ever
ban. It's, all this stuff.
It's
Have
idiocracy.
you ever argued with an angry, stupid person?
Yeah,
I try
it's
not
the
to.
worst.
Yeah, you can't. You're sitting down calmly being like, okay, here's the issue with price controls, okay? You can't control for every aspect of the economy. So if you say something like bread can't be sold more than $3, the issue then is the labor that has to go into making the bread is also a component of the person, the workers who need to make a certain wage to buy the bread later. So when you're dealing with all of these different goods, the person making the bread has to make enough money from the bread making to buy bread themselves. So it's all connected. And then the supermarket goes, you're dumb. They could just say you can't do it. Bread comes from the store. And you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, you lost them like word 3. There's just no follow through. That's why I think Trump is aware of that though, or his campaign is, because they do seem to be not like dumbing things down, but doing more visual stuff, like walking out with the groceries on the, just trying to put it in plain, language and imagery for people, which I think is a decent way to combat it. But
well, I'm trying to get my street cred with Kamala. So just in case anyone's wondering, when I make tacos, I actually pepper spray them. Because, I take it to the extreme because, I'm not like that white Tim Walz. I put pure capsaicin on all of my food for no reason.
I do the opposite. I just throw out all my spices and I'll go into your house and throw yours out too. That's how white I am.
Just in the garbage.
You can't. It's the first thing I do when I walk into someone's house. Just immediately.
got to get rid of their spices.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, the funny thing is like, the East India Trading Company just murdered tons of people for spices. Black peppercorn was huge. So when he's like, pepper is once that was actually a big deal. But like everything, and saffron today is worth an insane amount of money. And this is literally white dudes in ships traveling from Europe all the way around the world, going through like down past South Africa.
Yeah, white people used to love spices.
I mean, just so that food would taste good, they murdered each other.
Yeah, or like salt. Like there were all sorts of benefits to seasoning food, right? Some of it was to preserve it. But again, it's just this stereotypical bumbling white guy who has no idea how this works. And I just think that's what they saw when they hired him, right? They're like, he's sort of from a rural state and he's white. So obviously all white men will just fall in love with him. And I actually think he's doing more to irritate them.
Oh, for sure. And even just the rebranding of him as like using words like folksy and like put me in coach and all this stuff. It's like, that's the fakest part of it, because it's not actually resonating with people in that demographic they want to target. At least I don't think. And also the idea that a guy who let rioters tear down a city, that's the farthest thing from folksy. Like what? I don't know what folksy means.
Trump War Room posted this video. I don't know what it is, but it's Kamala, so I'm going to play it.
Everyday prices are too high. It feels so hard to just be able to get ahead. The bills add up. Food, rent, gas, back to school clothes, prescription medication, the cost of food. A loaf of bread costs 50% more. Ground beef is up almost 50%. There's a serious housing shortage. The price of housing has gone up. It's too difficult to build, and it's driving prices up. It is out of reach. The size of down payments have gone up as well. Costs are still too high. There's not much left at the end of the month, and prices are still too high.
Okay, well, she's the administration.
Right.
I'm sorry. These people standing behind her, they must have IQs of 70. I think the important question for each and every one of these people standing alongside Kamala Harris when she says this stuff is, if you didn't have breakfast yesterday, how would you have felt?
It's a good question to ask them. I think it's amazing that someone who is, effectively an incumbent can stand there and say, we've done a bad job. Everything is more expensive under us, and you can't afford everything. And I'll list a lot of things that you can't afford or can't even save to afford. Anyways, give me another shot. I want to spend 4 years in the White House.
And I will say that I guess we're a little bit black-pilled talking about, the low IQ voter and how they're falling for it. But I actually think that even really dumb people do kind of understand that, like, we were poorer the last 4 years than previously. So I think that could be some form of hope that, like, people do notice when they can't afford food or they can't fill up their tank, even if they don't understand that this policy is actually communistic and this policy will cause this, down the line. They do understand if they're broke now and they weren't under Trump.
Yeah.
Let's pull up this story from the Post Millennial. Trump brings in Tulsi Gabbard for debate prep against Kamala. Gabbard ran for the Democrat primary in 2020, this we know. Two people with knowledge of Trump's schedule told the New York Times that Trump had brought in Gabbard for a recent practice session at Mar-a-Lago. The outlet noted that Gabbard was brought in partly because of her own performance in 2019, where she eviscerated Miss Harris.
She did.
The spokeswoman for Trump, Carolyn Levitt, sent a statement that Trump had proven to be one of the best debaters in political history, as evidenced by his knockout blow to Joe Biden. He does not need traditional debate prep, but will continue to meet with respected policy advisors and effective communicators like Tulsi Gabbard. We know. I just want to point this out. Donald Trump did so well in his debate against Joe Biden. Joe Biden quit.
Right.
I mean, like, just seriously stop and think about that for a second. The debate, Joe Biden and Trump debated, and Trump demolished Biden so severely that Biden quit the race. He's just like, I'm done. I can't do this. That's crazy.
And frankly, if you want to compare Biden and Kamala just in terms of, like, remembering certain facts, accurately stating things, it's like Biden was probably actually a little better than even Kamala. It doesn't seem like Kamala can speak off script at all. And that combined with the fact that Trump actually has a strong suit in debating these people, I feel like the debates are going to go really well, especially considering, for us, obviously, especially considering she didn't accept the Fox News one, and that's the first one. So he has this opportunity to film an empty podium and have, like, a really iconic
This is how much
scene.
she cares. She's
Yeah,
not even showing
where are
up.
you, Kamala? So
That's what they kept saying, like, if he shows up, I guess I'll be there anyways. And now they
Now it's
have
flipped.
successfully turned that right.
What was that thing where the CNN panel yelled at Nancy Mace for being racist because she said Kamala? Or did she say Kamala?
I don't even know if it's Kamala or Kamala.
I don't either. I have no idea.
And they were
That's why
like,
I started saying
they were like, you're doing that on purpose, calling her that. Like, I don't even know which one it is. Like Kamala?
Which is not great because
Kamala,
she's running
isn't
for
it?
president, right? Like,
That's actually a really great point. I was watching this video from, I think it was like May, and it was just like an on the street interview about, like, politics, really basic stuff, asking regular people what they think of Kamala Harris. And a lot of people said, who's that? You can't forget some people don't even know who the vice president is, know?
And then what? Like, I got to be honest. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if when people are getting polled on the phone, the pollster is going to say, in the 2024 election coming up in November on the 5th, do you intend to vote for Donald Trump or do you intend to vote for Kamala Harris, the Democrat? And what likely happens, people go, oh, yeah, the Democrat, yeah, Kamala Harris. But then if you actually asked them, who are you voting for? Pause. They'd probably be like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is another reason why polls are probably bunk. Because when I get polled, so I've done a few polls. It's funny because people are always like, I've never been polled before. I get emails all the time. And they're like, would you like to participate in a poll? And I'll be like, okay. And then it says, who are you voting for in this election? And it literally just says Trump or Kamala. I haven't answered. I haven't done a poll for Kamala yet. I did get a Biden poll a while ago, and it was Trump or Biden. It didn't include RFK Jr. So they're already priming you. If you don't like Trump, you're putting Joe Biden. The polls are going to be like, here's how many people said Joe Biden. I think if you went to people and said, who do you plan to vote for in November? They're going to be like, I don't know. Joe
Right.
Biden, you'd be like, he's not running. They'd be like, oh, then I have no idea.
People are just going to pick the D, obviously, but I don't know. I understand on like a really basic level why people really wanted Biden in 2020, whether you believe there was no tomfoolery with the election or whatever. It's like, at least I get it. You know, he was in the Obama administration. There's a certain nostalgia. We were in the middle of lockdowns. Like the situation was bad in 2020, regardless of what side you were on. I think the hate has peaked for Trump. I think it's capped out. I think that's why, you know, my personal opinion is they got a little desperate and maybe had to try something else on July 13th. That's my personal opinion. You can't really inspire more hate. People are only going down on the hate meter for him. I don't think people are really loving Kamala. And that can maybe seem like I'm living in my own bubble because I'm pro-Trump, obviously, but I just don't see it. You know, I don't see black people loving her either. I don't know how important, you know, racial demographics end up being. There's always people saying it's more or less important, but I think black people don't like Kamala. And I think that's kind of a bad sign.
And she's sort of stateless. Like she was a senator from California, and I assume she'll win California. California tends to go blue, but it's just, she sort of represents nothing.
She's
right?
like fictional. She's like a Disney movie character, like taking down the bad guy. I think Trump probably should really, and he is doing this more even now, use the word San Francisco as much as you can. She's a San Francisco liberal. It's very different. And even liberals understand that San Francisco is not well ran. It's really bad.
Yeah.
It's like the worst city in the country.
And people still remember that they scrubbed it right before Xi Jinping showed up, right? Like people know that they were willing to do something about it when it had to do with China. And I think a lot of people, I think moderates too, felt kind of, I don't want to say burned, maybe that's too strong, but like put off by that there are other places in America that need help, but they only care about these cities and the problems that are there when, you know, they're trying to impress what I would call for an adversary. But
yeah, I think he should really hammer in like, no, she is from San Francisco and she did that to San Francisco, because I actually did know a lot of moderates when I lived in LA, and none of them were under any illusion that it was a well-ran state. A lot of them left, you know, and wherever they went and wherever they voted afterwards is one thing, but a lot of them were very aware it was a dumpster fire. So keep associating her with that.
You think Austin is like deep red?
Oh,
Because I've heard it's like the San Francisco of Texas.
To me, it feels very purple. It doesn't feel, you know, there's not like a lot of super conservative people, but the liberals are they feel a lot more moderate. And that's
Like they're going to vote for Trump.
Oh, there's a lot of liberals for Trump right now in Austin, for sure. I talk to them all the time. Absolutely.
what do they say? What's their justification?
There's a lot of talk I've noticed just about how like they're just noticing like the desperation to get them to hate him. And now it's like we're going on the third election cycle now. And I think people get tired of feeling all that hate. I don't think it's a good emotion to actually have within you. And I think that people are kind of understanding finally that like if everyone's out to get this guy, there's something to that. It's like they just shot at him too. Okay, something's going on. It's not even necessarily about they like love him or his policies. It's just like, I just can't even hate him anymore. He's kind of funny. People say he's funny, you know.
This does seem like the fourth campaign that is pick me because I'm not Trump and Trump is so bad. Like that was kind of the Hillary messaging, especially towards the end, right? It was like, you cannot have Trump, you have to vote for me. And then Biden ran on a similar platform. Trump is awful, you know, you have to like me. And then we got a second version of that with Biden's attempt at re-election. And now we're in the fourth installment with Harris, who came out of the gate being like, I'm a prosecutor and he's a felon and you cannot have this guy running the country. I imagine for moderates who lean left and definitely like voters who consider themselves Democrats, at a certain point you start to be like, you have to give me something else. I need policies. I need a reason to vote for you that isn't just because I'm not Trump.
I also think leading up to this, I would say 2023 and definitely, you know, the first half of 2024, a lot of people noticed, not necessarily in the political sense, but like all the P. Diddy stuff, all the Nickelodeon documentaries, people's sort of like view of like the world being as it's told by the media, that started coming down. People started thinking, okay, so they said P. Diddy was a good guy for decades and now he's like the worst. You know, I thought Nickelodeon was pro-kid and they're pro-kid in the worst way. I think people are just questioning media constructs more now. And that's actually bad for Kamala because she is a media construct. She's practically fictional, like I said. She's completely constructed. I mean, no one can even point to any accomplishments. People who like her.
She doesn't have any.
Exactly.
Tim Murtaugh,
No, that's not fair. That's not fair.
Well, okay, she ended up being MVP, and you know.
No, not that. Like she does have a lot of accomplishments. for a communist. She destroyed the economy. She's continually destroying the economy. She's helping rip the border to shreds. She's exacerbating the war in the Middle East and in Europe. For somebody who wants the United States to burn to the ground, I mean, she's very accomplished.
She's doing a lot.
Villains have accompltiments. It's just that we don't want them to.
Exactly.
Right.
I'm sure they have a metric at which they're like, I had a good day today. Just everyone else hates it. Tim Murtaugh, who just joined the Trump campaign, he had been the campaign in the 2020 communications. He has an op-ed out right now where he talks about how the media has basically been like, he calls her untalented, like this untalented candidate, and been like, turns out she's immaculate and she's the best thing to ever happen to anyone. I mean, it tells you that, to a certain point, if you have mainstream media on your side, you could just be a sandwich and they would be like, amazing, run this. First sandwich elected to the president. Like, it's crazy. And I think voters actually feel insulted by that by a certain point.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And again, they're questioning the media more now than any previous election cycle having to do with Trump, which is a really good thing and it's in his favor. I guess, like, to sum it up, it's like if the election is fair and free and the real voice of the people is spoken, it really does feel like the people are more so with Trump right now.
So Mark Cuban, he's not a stupid guy, but he's not a perceptive guy, right? He tweeted, who is in charge of the executive branch of the United States and responsible for 100% of its policies, POTUS or the vice president? It's 81% for POTUS, 19% for the VP. This guy is not bright. Like, he's good at running businesses. He's made great investments. You can't deny he's smart. So when I mean bright, he's like, you can be good at plumbing, but doesn't mean you know how to play chess. You know what I'm saying? Bro, Kamala Harris cast the tie-breaking votes in the Senate for the Democrat policies. She has more responsibility on these bills than Joe Biden does. Joe Biden signs them. He could veto them. But Kamala is first in line and cast a vote for it, for which Joe Biden says yes or no after the fact. So you can argue that he's responsible as president, but she could stop these bills from going to his desk like that. So I'll just put it this way. Biden's not in Congress. He's not the one drafting these bills and then voting on them. He just signs or vetoes. Kamala Harris, as the vice president and president of the Senate, is casting the tie-breaking vote. She's literally voting with Democrats on these bills. So, yes, it's her. Thank you, and have a nice day.
He tweeted something out, I remember when they first announced Walz as the VP pick, and he was kind of addressing the faction of the party that were like not so happy about it, that maybe wanted a Shapiro, and he tweeted like, you guys just don't get it. Kamala went from zero to hero in 5 minutes, and so will he. And I was like, okay, you're almost there, but why do you think she went from zero to hero in 5 minutes? Is it because of lies, gaslighting, media propping her up? And is that something that's good for the country? Is that something that we should like?
Yeah.
So I tweeted in response to Mark Cuban, who cast the tie-breaking votes, and somebody responded with a meme of Donald Trump, and he's sitting with Kamala, and he's got his arm around her, and she's pregnant. And I'm just saying, like, I don't know why this is the one thing everybody made, but these photos are everywhere on X right now of Trump and Kamala as a couple with Kamala pregnant. And I wonder if it was an inevitability, knowing that we had a female candidate, that people would make these things.
I mean, yeah, that's like just human nature, I guess. You can't avoid that, I'm sure.
And they're happy. They're happy and smiling together, and Kamala's having Trump's baby.
Well, first off, obviously Trump would never do that. Have you seen Melania? But second, I think it is interesting that is the response, that you would get these like pregnant Kamala Harris memes. Number one, because they were so mad about the childless cat lady thing. But number two, because like their solution to everything is don't have kids, let's have immigration. And so I can imagine that she's mad about this in a lot of ways, right? She doesn't want to be perceived as someone who would have a relationship with Donald Trump, but then also like they don't like symbols of fertility. It's sort of a threat to the feminist movement, I guess.
They really are smart. I gotta say, it's like just, they're not even doing, people are saying, oh, she's running a basement campaign just like Biden. Not necessarily. She's more out there, I feel like, than Biden was in 2020, but like she's only honing in on emotional voters. She's only honing in on dumb voters. And it is smart. I mean, I just can't. I was noticing the other day, and I think I tweeted it out, and a lot of people thought it was very true, that the Republican Party has never been younger and more racially diverse. And you can apply value judgments to that however you want. And the Democrat Party has never been older and more just like white cat lady-ish. It's just even all the rallies, it's just like older, white, angry women.
We should ban cats.
Whoa.
Yep.
Whoa. I
Just
just
send them out.
profoundly.
I don't know
Cat's
about
gotta
that
go. We
one.
got too
I love
many.
my cat.
Too many cats.
I don't know.
No. That's not fair to the cats. They didn't register as Democrats.
I watched this really great video where a guy put a camera on his cat to see what it did when it ran around. And there's a bunch of these videos, and they're the greatest things ever. The cat is like walking around. He sees a person, then he hides. And then the cat goes and meets up with his buddies. And
Yeah.
it's like the cats and the other cats come together, and they're like walking around, hanging out. And they're like, they're chilling. And then they go home. And they're like, all right, see you later. And then they leave and then come back home. It's like,
Have you
that's
seen
what
the
they
fight
do all day.
ones where they fight?
Yeah.
Those are so crazy.
No, the best one was when there's two cats laying on the street and they're rolling around with each other and their eyes are closed and they're like nuzzling. And then another cat walks up and is just dead staring at one of them. And then one of the cats sees and runs away. And then the other cat's like confused, like, why'd you run? And then turns around and goes, oh, crap. And everybody was saying like he's cheating.
No, yeah. I like this one. It was someone had put GPS collars on their cat and their dog, and they showed the dog like going on a walk, and the cat is like zigzagging around, but also following the dog, like keeping on its route. I think.
All right. Let's jump back to news. We got this from the Post Millennial. Supreme Court declines to enforce Biden-Harris Title IX gender identity protections. The injunction against the ruling will stay in effect for now. They say in a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court denied the Biden-Harris administration efforts to demand the changes to Title IX go into effect. The DOE, under the Education Secretary Miguel Cardona, issued new rules making sweeping changes to Title IX of the Civil Rights Act, which equates equality in education. Those changes conflated biological sex with gender identity, making it so that protections set aside for women would also encompass men who said they're women, which is just like eliminates protections for women. So this is the funny thing about this. Democrats are basically saying that they want to remove protections for women, but they don't want to say it because that would be anti-equality or whatever, I guess.
Yeah,
and they're getting the woman vote this time around. That more than anything, they're just getting women. Obviously.
I don't know why
Like,
women vote for this stuff.
Yeah, why do women see a female president and are like, I have to vote for her? I feel some sort of weird call of sisterhood. Like, I just will never be able to relate to this.
Well, I think it also kind of sucks because if she were to win, God forbid, if she were to win, I can't imagine us putting another woman president anytime soon. I mean, it's going to be a disaster. Like, I just think it would ruin any chances of any future, like, competent candidates.
What if it's just like a utopia? Like Kamala gets in, and then all of a sudden the war's all end.
Well, then screw all of us. Well, then we were wrong.
I retire and apologize.
We have no finger on any pulses. Then it's just
no, because it would be a utopia where it's like Kamala's version of a utopia. Kamala, her version of a utopia, right? Like where all of the issues are for like things that you care about if you're conservative, they don't matter, right? Like everyone can have, an abortion and we have tons of debt, but hey, we're giving you stuff for free because taxes are crazy high, but that's actually okay because we've expanded the social safety net. Like, I just don't believe that she has the kind of vision for America where ultimately, like every administration get one thing right. Like Biden was like CHIPS Act, like there's always something. But generally, I think that the direction she represents for the Democratic Party is one that does not have anything in common with just general American values.
Even Democrats. That's why even like today I've seen like multiple headlines, CNN, I think Washington Post, they're low-key kind of calling her a communist right now, which is kind of shocking.
That was funny. CNN's been roasting her like crazy.
Yeah.
There's one thing where they're like her policy on the housing just increased the cost of every house by claiming she's going to give government money for housing. Yeah. That doesn't work. You can't do that. Mm-hmm. So she's burning it all down. I will say this though. I was watching her speech earlier, and I know Trump's doing well in polls. Trump's got a couple polls coming out recently that are doing well. So it's yet to be seen. But the two distinct campaign strategies, Kamala, she said, we're the party of the future. Trump's the party of the past. Here's what we're going to focus on in the future. Trump comes out and says, Kamala did this, that, and this. And so it really is Trump saying Kamala did bad things as a warning to what she will keep doing. And Kamala is ignoring that because she needs to, and then saying, here's what we want for the future. I think it'll be interesting to see how this actually resonates with people. Kamala's trying to define herself as we need a better economy. We need, have better healthcare, things like this. And Trump's trying to say, yeah, but look at what she's actually done. Mm-hmm. I wonder what's going to resonate more with people. Saying, I want good thing, or Trump saying that person did bad thing.
I think that there's a mix of both. I think voters actually want a hopeful, positive president, but I think the Harris campaign's messaging is very similar to the Biden campaign messaging. Biden would also say, we're the party of the future and we're the party of hope. And then he would turn around and be like, January 6th and MAGA extremists and this. Like, it's actually a deeply negative campaign.
Yeah.
I think it's different to say, like, Kamala Harris is currently in the White House, and this is our current situation. So if she doesn't take accountability, she cannot promise to be accountable in the future, which I think is what Trump is really doing. And I generally do think that ever since its inception, the MAGA movement, the Make America Great Again, is inherently hopeful and optimistic in a way that I haven't seen, at least the Biden-Harris campaign or the Harris-Walz campaign. They have never offered that to voters.
Yeah. Also, I think it's important to look at the context for which people,
The context.
did somewhat.
You want to be unburdened by the context?
It's important to exist in the context of, but the context of the 2020 election was a lot of despair. Like, people were watching the results as they were locked down in their homes, waiting for a vaccine to appear, whether they wanted it or not, right? It's like riots all summer and then an election. People were very hopeless. So someone coming in and offering hope was, I think, what won people over. But Kamala can't do that. She can't come in and offer hope when it was her policies that have not put people in, a lower disposition, a bad position. So I just don't see it working. And I think people are just inherently better at seeing through that now, too.
And the way Biden talked to, I don't know how much you guys watched of Biden's speech during this joint appearance in Maryland that they just had, but a lot of the way that Biden talked about Harris was as if to say, like, this is just a continuation of my campaign and my administration. He's said, like, basically he's worked too hard and we can't give up the fight now. I mean, he is very clear that she is a part of his administration and the things that he has fought for and the programs that he has installed and the methods he's rolled out to try and help America, shout out for the inflation and the lack of affordability. These will continue with Harris. And I'm sure she doesn't want that, but that's the reality. Like, people are never going to be able to separate her from Biden. And if you think Biden did a bad job, there's no reason to think that Kamala would do better.
Which no one really thinks he did a good job, left or right, I feel like. And I feel like he's sabotaging her by, of course, trying to equate her with the administration because he's trying to save his own legacy, obviously. So it's these conflicting, there's just not a lot of unity on that side right now. Like, all of her events get protested by, Palestine people, and Biden saying, yes, she was part of these policies that I say are good, but Americans know are bad. There's not a lot of cohesive messaging.
Do you think the Democrats would be in a stronger position if they had spent the last couple of weeks having lots of Democrats vie and campaign for the top position on the ticket, and then at this upcoming convention, like, actually had an open convention and vote, rather than installing Kamala Harris?
I don't know. I can't say. I feel like this is probably the best plan B for just rolling Biden through and somehow hiding the fact that he was a corpse, because she is number two. It makes sense. And
she is a number two.
Yeah, she's literally number two.
Oh, what? No, I didn't mean it like that. Guys, you're mean.
Wait, is there a joke I'm not getting?
I'm kidding.
Okay. Maybe I'm autistic.
Maybe Tim is in the third.
It's a poop joke. Okay.
No, I wonder.
I don't know. I can't say.
No, it's impossible to say we're hypothesizing about things that we'll never know at this point. But I always wonder, if they had wanted to rally support, if having a show of, like, we have all these people coming out to make their case, like seeing these kind of micro rapid primary campaigns, and then having next week be people on stage arguing out, if Democrats would feel empowered and united, and at the end they'd be like, this is the guy, we picked him. Because in some ways, I understand why they were like, we have to have unity as fast as possible. So it's going to be Kamala Harris and no one's going to challenge her. And we're just, the only thing close to a competition was who she was going to pick to VP, which of course voters didn't get a say on, or at least Democratic voters didn't get a say on. But without that theater of politics of having people make their case and campaign and argue, Democrats are have less stake in the game right now. And that's why, again, they have to hammer home this, like, no, it's the end of democracy if you don't come out in support of Kamala Harris. But if they had made it so, like, look, there was this crazy rapid battle for Democrats who came out of everywhere, and this is the guy, like, that would have, I think, built a different kind of authentic momentum.
It certainly would have, aligned them closer with their purported values of democracy. Like, I if you haven't noticed, it's like they had Tourette syndrome with the word democracy. They couldn't even speak one word without using the word our democracy, the phrase our democracy. Now they don't even use a word anymore. It feels like it had like 100% decline in use. So it would have been more authentic for sure. But I just think they were scattered after Trump didn't get taken out. And
what's crazy to me is that the people who are to be least affected by all of the failures of Biden and Kamala Walz if they win, it's us. It's the people watching shows like this, right? I was mentioning this the other day on September 13th, I think it was, I made a video where I was like, Biden will not be the nominee. I outright said it. And I was like, they're already talking about replacing him. Nancy Pelosi says he's probably going to drop out. The guy can't speak properly. I don't know how he actually ends up running. How he could be the nominee. It's got to be someone else. If at that point, and I had my doubts, don't get me wrong, like into March, I was like, I guess it's going to be him because the Ohio thing, like, I don't know how they replace him at this late in the game. But if in September you were watching my show and you were just like, I'm going to make a bet that Tim is right now, that he's guessing, it's his prediction, I mean, your bet would have paid off huge. At that point, it was like 9-1 for Biden. And so when Kamala and Biden screw policies up and they burn things to the ground and you watch informative news shows and it's like, I don't know, the contract for beans from our bean importer is gone, so there won't be beans tomorrow. People are going to go out and they're going to stock up on groceries and food. And then a week later, the news will report that stores are out of food. And, ultimately, my point is it's kind of like, it just feels we're trying so hard to make sure everybody knows so that we can have a better functioning system. But the people who are voting for Kamala Harris are the most likely to end up struggling. And we're watching it happen right now. It is Democrats who largely did not switch parties, who voted for Joe Biden in 2020, who are suffering now. And Kamala goes, food is up and gas up. And they're like, yeah. It's like, do you remember you voted for her? And what are you saying now? Okay, well, at a certain point, I'm kind of like, I know the people who are watching this show and who do frequent it, they're going to be okay. If Kamala is handed a box of matches to burn the country to the ground, like it'll suck for everybody, but we're going to be all right because we're going to see the fire coming and we're going to run to safety. Yeah. But the people who voted for are the ones who are really going to get ruined by this.
Yeah, because they're not prepared.
Kind of reminds me of all the stuff in 2020. It's like, yeah, lockdowns affected everyone if you were living in a place that were locked down, which was almost everywhere in the country. But just being in the mental headspace of like, I will defy certain, ordinances and orders just because I need to preserve my sanity and I need to live my life. Democrats were like not prepared to make a decision to preserve their own lives. Like they were completely at the whim of policies they supported, whether their real selves knew it or not. I guess they don't have real selves. They're really just kind of NPCs. I don't know. I think
I'm thinking about all of the people who moved. I mean, you would get these, I think U-Haul would release these surveys where it'd be like, this is where a lot of moving trucks are being rented and this is where they're ending up. But there were people who looked at COVID and the lockdowns as a chance to kind of reevaluate their lives, whether it was a choice or just they had to because of the circumstances. And there were a lot of people who did what they could to change their circumstances, right? Whether it was like, where we are has unreasonable lockdown expectations and requirements, and we don't want to live this way, so we're going to move somewhere else that more reflects our values, which means they had to think about their values and the lifestyles they want to live. Or if they were like, hey, actually, we are realizing that we don't really know what's going on in our kids' education, and we want to, and so we need to make a financial decision to relocate, and maybe someone's staying home with kids to homeschool or whatever it is. Like there are a lot of awful things that happened during lockdowns, but one of the positives for some people is that they said, I actually don't think I like the way I'm living. I'm going to change it. And I think because that was really happening in 2020 and 2021, 2022, that you're kind of going to see the effect of that in voters now. Yes. I wonder if that mentality is really being accounted for when we look at like the conversations we're having about promises in terms of policies or just generally like what people are expecting from politicians today.
That's a really big part of it. And I think that sometimes people, when they think of COVID and everything that happened around it, whether it was the riots, the lockdowns, the vaccine stuff, they think of 2020, but like for a lot of the country, that stuff lasted until 2022, like summer 2022. So a lot of people, I think, casted a vote in November 2020 and they were like, I'm voting for hope. I'm voting for Biden. It's going to turn around. And then all of a sudden, vaccine mandates and all of a sudden things aren't open how they were. And I'm still wearing a mask in 2022. Mm-hmm. So,
you know what I think? Mm-hmm. I was just thinking about Madison Square Garden just sold out 2 nights for Kill Tony. and you had Shane Gillis up on stage as Trump. Shane Gillis is a guy who got fired from SNL because he made some like edgy jokes one time. Now he's on stage at a sold-out Madison Square Garden for one of the biggest, I think the biggest comedy podcast, one of the biggest comedy shows, period.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And I'm just thinking about, like, we've been winning a lot.
Yes.
You know? And even with as bad as it's been under Biden, culturally, I think we've made tremendous victories. Yes. Like the fact that, this is why it's like, it's frustrating when the Trump supporters go after Rogan and stuff. It's like, bro, this is what drove all of the middle of the road, South Park watching millennial dudes to the Republican Party, not because they're Christian conservatives or anything like that, but it's because they were watching edgy comedy and then got told they'd be fired if they said any of those jokes. And then Shane Gillis got fired. And Shane Gillis ended up winning. Now he's like one of the biggest comedians, you know, like I mentioned, sold out Madison Square Garden, Kill Tony show. He's there. And Joe Rogan's on stage. Culturally, this is like the people who are mad have won. And so I don't know. I was just thinking about that. I'm like, we're winning. We're winning.
Culturally, yes, absolutely. You can even look at certain things like other metrics that people I think are less likely to kind of see as like a positive thing for the Trump side is that like country music coming back. Like I think people leaving blue cities during COVID, which again lasted all the way till 22, suddenly they're living in Tennessee. Suddenly they're living in Texas. I think there's like a black-pilled way to look at it, which is like, oh, they're coming and they're just voting blue in Texas. But it's like, I think a lot of them actually are not. I think a lot of them are coming and they're finally having conversations with people on the other side of the aisle. There was a point where Rogan was like the only window into right-wing culture other than like the few right-wingers that were allowed to be on Twitter at the time. So I also agree. I don't like the cannibalizing of Joe. It makes me feel bad. But culturally, I think absolutely it matters that we have made really big
I'd heard that
strides.
Stagecoach was more popular this year than Lollapalooza. No, not Lollapalooza. What's the other one that happens?
Is it?
What's the other one that happens in the desert? That's like
Coachella?
Coachella. That it was more popular this year.
Stagecoach? What is that?
Stagecoach is like a big country music festival, and
Coachella was dead this year.
yeah,
Really?
But I had seen a skit on Instagram where someone is like, no, Coachella's not cool. We have to be at Stagecoach. We need to get tickets.
People are wearing cowboy boots. People are going to country music festivals. Country music's having a big plus. And I mean, you can look at it like, how does that count for points for Trump? But that just means like small town culture. Yep. That means Midwestern culture. That means, you know, it's a good thing overall.
Yeah, I think it is a winning victory. And, you know, SNL was a huge institution for a long time, but and I wish I had the numbers to verify this, but I have heard that its viewership is significantly down.
Yeah.
So in some ways, like while it might be still, you know, for some up and coming comedians, a good way to get exposure, of course, it is still a big platform. For someone who wants to be on the cutting edge, it's actually not where you want to be. It's inherently the institution, whereas like comedy podcasts and these other things are actually kind of paving the way and therefore on the edge of the trend.
Yeah, they had the first non-binary cast member on SNL, and it was the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen. It was like just some fat white lady with a men's basketball hat on or something.
What?
That's the funny thing about it. Like, whenever someone's non-binary, you can just tell it's a woman.
Yeah, there really aren't any male non-binary people, except for people like Jeffrey Marsh, which he was invited to the DNC, by the way. Did you see that?
Yeah.
That's really
But
scary.
But I don't understand what the logic behind it. Maybe there's none. It's just I said it therefore, and that's what Democrats do.
Well, it's white, so the white guilt, you get a minority point, which
Right.
it's the white guilt stuff. I think cannot be understated. How that's really taken over. That's why they picked Walz. He's that caricature, and that is what is communicating really well to people. They hate yourself because you're white, you know. And I just think it's not working with younger people though. And I know it's kind of like you can't count on young people to vote and vote someone in, but I feel like red pill Gen Z is probably going to have like a much higher likelihood of voting than blue pill Gen Z, if that makes sense. Like I don't see like non-binary, they, them, core, like commie people going to the polls and making sure they're registered to vote and all that. But I think like young people who are disaffected by all the propaganda and have seen through it, I think they want to vote.
Let me pull this up. This is from Microsoft MSN. Why? Actually, I think it's Fortune. Why aren't millennials and Gen Z having kids? It's the economy, stupid. Yeah. And so why would Gen Z, many of these voters who are entering, will be voting for the first time, why would they vote for the candidate, the VP, who is responsible for this? Now, there's an answer. I mean, because they're dumb. I mean, that's a possibility. But it's not all Gen Z. The people who vote for Kamala, regardless of age, are dumb. And the people who choose not to, well, I'm not saying they should vote for Trump. They can vote for whoever they want. But if you're upset about the economy and you can't function because of it, and then you're going to vote for the party that is currently actively responsible for what's going on, well, then like you deserve it, I guess. But we looked this up earlier because the other day I was talking to Danny Polishchuk, comedian, and he was saying that in New York, the rents are insane now. The average rent in New York is $3,801 a month for a 600 square foot apartment. Ugh. A studio is $3,000, dude.
That's
before
insane.
I left New York, I had a 2-bedroom and it was $1,950, and I thought that was crazy. Now, average 2-bedroom is $5,000. Let me ask you: you need first, last, and security. Where the is a Gen Z kid going to get $15,000? This is insane. So what's Gen Z even doing?
A lot of them are waking up to Trump. And I've seen a lot of videos with them talking, and viral videos of them talking about how we just want to be able to live. Like it actually matters to them a lot. And you think about how hard it was, just like you said, for us when we got out of high school. I can't imagine being Gen Z getting out of high school right now. My God, I'm a little younger than you, Tim. And I think I had like a 1-bedroom in LA that was like $2,100 or something. It was just insane. And I had already started like being a YouTuber at that point, making okay money. You can't do that working a regular job. Right. So it matters.
They say the expense of rent and trying to live on your own is driving a lot of Gen Z to just live at home with their parents, which people will say is a bad thing. And I think if you're not doing anything right, if you're like playing video games and you have no ambition, it can be. But I also wonder if, to your point, like one of the reasons Gen Z is having more conversations about like, well, why can't you afford it? The economy is because maybe they are spending more time with their parents who are like, yes, actually, it's super expensive. Because I can imagine that unless there's a Gen Z who somehow has like, you know, the $15,000 that they need to rent an apartment or whatever, like otherwise you have to go to your parents and say, can you co-sign with me?
And they will let you know if that's too expensive. Yeah.
Right. It's kind of interesting. It's always fascinating to me to think that, you know, cities, especially New York, can be like, well, this is just the way it is. You just pay this rent and you get to be a New Yorker and it's so important. But like if you're paying $7,000 a month for your 2-bedroom apartment in Williamsburg, that was what Danny said. He was like built a 2-bedroom cost in that area.
So what
that's
are
like
they doing,
almost
bunking?
that's almost $1 million. Like you could pay $7,000 a month for like an almost $1 million house in this area of West Virginia. Like it is crazy to me that you're like, you are choosing to live in the worst possible way.
And it was the same argument forever. It's just the way it is in LA. It's just the way it is in Chicago, New York.
You want to be here, right? Like,
right. But now it's like 10 times as bad. So it's just still the same argument. Like, oh, it's just expensive here. Okay, well, what do all these places that are just like that have in common? They're all run by Democrats.
To be honest, you know, the price to live in a concrete block that smells like sour milk is, you know, it is what it is. Some people really want that.
Gotta pay up.
Dude, that's the thing about New York is that it stinks. I mean, like, but it's a city. I mean, I'm not trying to rag on New York specifically, but it smells bad. And that's why people talk about, oh, the fresh air. Why is it a trope that people are like, the fresh country air? That's normal air. That's what air is supposed to be.
It's not special. It's just not damaged air.
Yeah. They'll be in like a suburbia where it's like super developed to be like, wow, fresh air. You're like,
Yeah,
not
you
even
can
on like a
smell
mountainside right now.
You smell the blacktop. They just put that down. But, you know, with all due respect, I mean, if you want to live in a city, fine. But it's becoming impossible. And I think it's probably intentional. Democrats are probably intentionally doing this because they want you to live in the pod and eat the bugs.
It does take a certain amount of compliance to be like, well, this is just the way it is. I have to be a part of this, you know, rat race and I have to live in this area to feel like I'm going anywhere with my life.
But that's also where they overplayed their hand with COVID and how restrictive they were, because then people were moving out of these cities and people were starting to work remote. And I think people really just got pilled on like real life. Like they started, I mean, I know for me, it was like it was almost supernatural, the difference between going from like a 2-bedroom apartment in Hollywood to moving out to a house in Austin, and just the concept of like there not being violence all around me, like to the literal level of like, oh, there's no gunshots. I don't hear gunshots anymore. Or, oh, the air, you can breathe it without feeling like it might be risky. Or, you know, you take those things for granted. And I think that's also going to play in Trump's favor in the election, is that a lot of people finally rediscovered like living outside of these like Democratic hellholes.
Yeah.
Because there's no argument for when you see the worst ran places in the country, they're all ran by Democrats. Like for me, it's an easy decision to vote Trump because I grew up in California. I lived there for most of my adult life. And so I know what it's like to live in a blue city and a blue state. Most people, they never get out, but now they have. So I think it's going to be some unexpected flipping of counties too. I think counties are going to be all over the place flipping to red, and it's going to be fun to watch.
What do you think down ticket? Do you think that the House will stay Republican? Do you think the Senate will change?
See, that I don't know. I feel like I always have struggle predicting that one because people just select R or select D. Like, I don't know.
Vote down tickets.
Yeah.
Honestly.
All I know is culturally, Trump is more popular, which probably does filter down to everything, I don't think people waking up to Trump are not necessarily waking up to possibly voting Republican in other ways as well. But culturally, it's more right wing right now for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that my impression, and maybe you would know better than I would because you're more like into TikTok and you're more aware of this than I am because I'm effectively a boomer. But I think a lot of younger voters are open to the idea that this label of Republican and Democrat is not perfect. And so they are able to see across the aisle more than older generations. I think that they're able to say, like, and I think some of it is cultural, like attitudes on marijuana, right? That used to be like kind of built as like a hippie left thing. But actually, I think there are a lot of like crunchy right wing people who are like, no, we need to stop taking big pharma and we should see what we can use and whatever else. Or like, I don't know, there's a lot of like cultural stuff where if you ask younger generations, they're actually more moderate or they're more willing to talk to each other about it than older generations.
Also, I think sort of an unaccounted for thing is I think a lot of people, and this is people in my family that skew younger that have kind of told me this, which is shocking. A lot of people are really upset about the vaccines and the mandate specifically. Not necessarily that it harmed them or anything, but I think a lot of people are kind of horrified that one side of the aisle forced a needle into their arm. Like I was talking to my nephew the other day and he just randomly said something about how like, I don't want to ever hear about a vaccine ever again.
Oh,
I was
how
like,
old is he?
He's 18. And I was like, elaborate. And he's like, I just agree with you on the vaccines. I guess he's watched whatever of me talking about that. And that was shocking because again, he grew up in a school system.
He's like a liberal or what?
I don't think he's necessarily anything, but like I said earlier, he grew up under a far left establishment, unlike us, who a lot of our generation, the millennials, I think were rebelling against like, Judeo-Christian, more of a right-wing culture. They grew up with rainbow flags in their classroom and their teachers making them kneel to Black Lives Matter during the riots, which is insane. And that's just another thing to account for that like the rebellion now is voting Trump.
It's Democrats aren't the counterculture that they sometimes think they are. They are very much mainstream and establishment. I mean, if your issues are like the jokes on, sitcoms on TV, then you are probably not counterculture.
You're not the resistance if all the celebrities agree with you,
Yeah, I told this story before, but I went to a skate park and Black Lives Matter was spray painted on one of the ramps. And it's just like, I started laughing because there's some kid sitting by it. And I'm like, who spray painted Amazon's corporate?
Right.
Whatever floats your boat, dude. Don't look at me. I don't know.
In LA, they filled the skate parks up with sand. And I think the kids that lived and grew up under that are now old enough to start understanding like, okay, which party did that? Oh, that's the bad guys.
Well,
Trump was president, though.
True. But I think that there's more credit to be given to them that I think they do understand which party kind of supports certain things. Because they're also, you got to remember, the culture we grew up in at our ages, we're a little different in ages, all of us here. But
oh, look who it is. Look who's walking in at 9:17.
Welcome.
How's that electric car working out for you, Elad?
I don't want to blame it on the electric car.
I do. It's funny.
Electric cars don't help.
You're not a road tripping car?
Did you really get an electric car?
The thing was, I was forced into the electric car.
Oh, you see.
By Joe Biden?
I ordered from Hertz a full-size vehicle. I show up to the place.
She's like,
I show up to the place and the guy's just like, yep, we only got EVs. And I was just like, oh, cool. Can I hang out for a bit? Maybe somebody will show up. I'm sorry, Hannah Clark, can you take it away?
Yeah, so a
out
lot
of
was
breath?
like, I love electric vehicles. No, wait. It is interesting. I've heard this over and over again that people who buy Tesla love them if they drive like around the city. But if you get it and expect to drive long distances, you hate it because you have to stop all the time.
Yeah. So, like, I've got a Tesla and I've got a Honda. And if I'm going to go from here, we're in West Virginia. If I go to DC, it's an hour and like 15, hour and 20. I can take the Tesla and I can make it there and back with no issues. And that's a couple hours drive. You drive around the city. I get back and we're at like 40-something%. It's actually pretty good. If I have to go to like Chicago, that's ridiculous. Take the gas vehicle. Don't do it. So that's why, you know, and I hate to say it, Cybertruck is a luxury SUV. It is not a truck. You know, if you're going to Home Depot to pick up some stuff you want to throw in the back that can fit, fine. But the idea of pulling a fifth wheel with a Cybertruck is laughable.
Yeah,
All right, I caught my breath. Here's what happened. I ordered a full-size vehicle from Hertz. I show up to the place. The guy's like, yep, we only got electric vehicles. Like, there's nothing I could do. He's like, if you want, you can hang around a bit. Maybe somebody will return something. Maybe something will show up. I wait there for like an hour. Nothing happens. I'm like, F it. Let's go. I take it. Not only do you have to go to a longer route, you have to go to like particular places to charge. When you do charge, you don't charge all the way. And then you get all this range anxiety for everything you do. You know, I don't like to speed, but sometimes you like to floor it. And like, I feel like you see a drop in percentage. I like to blast AC. I'm an energy consuming guy. I want to be able to go to the station, pump up 2 minutes, fill her up, and go. 2 minute man. I'm not trying to like hang around for 20 minutes when you're at some of these EV stations. Not only that, they're always crowded. Everybody there is so smug. They'll have like 4 stations. You'll be in like a Walmart parking lot. You won't charge all the way. You can only supercharge like 50 or 60%. As Tim said, it's a luxury. It's a nice toy to have if you have like in town.
What did you think of EVs before this, though?
The infrastructure is
Joe
really
Biden
the
is
issue.
really pushing them as part of his
And
environmental
then like
policy.
Tesla can't charge the other EVs, and the other EVs can't charge the
Not true.
Teslas.
Well, hold on. Let me correct you on this one.
the iPhone.
So most of the electric vehicles are adopting Tesla standard, which they've named the North American standard. I think it's called something like that. So all the new generation electric vehicles are going to be using Tesla model chargers. There's also adapters. You can supercharge all the way up. It's just bad for your car. The problem is not even infrastructure. There's so many superchargers around me. They're everywhere. The problem is it still takes 20 minutes if you're low.
Yeah.
Well, if you go 50+%, it starts like decreasing. I don't know if that's like you'll start 150 something and then
What
like
vehicle did you get? Because I got a Tesla. It doesn't do that.
it's
I
a
plug it
rent.
in.
It's like one of these weird new brands.
Oh, did you see the video?
Polestar?
Did you see the video? Wait. Did you guys see the video of Kamala Harris plugging the EV in and then holding the charger like she was pumping gas?
She's a genius. She's a high
Dude,
IQ
for
lady.
What did you get? A whole star?
It says Polestar, but that just
Let's
sounds
not
like
give
it's
him
like your
free
stripper
advertisement.
name.
Is it Chinese?
Does it use Tesla or no?
No, but the guy at the station was like, yeah, you know, there's a converter that you could get. And I was like, oh, do you have it? And they're like, no.
It's a Swedish car.
Swedish? Okay.
car.
At least it's not. Because I know the CCP
Europe,
is
that's
trying to
nice.
take over the EV market.
Yeah,
The
but-
infrastructure issue is really, I want 2 minutes at the station. I don't want a session at the station.
This is
It
why
changes the way you drive.
gasoline, man. So wait, and why did you take it?
I waited there for like an hour. It was indefinite until like somebody showed up with a different car at this Hertz.
Why didn't you just go to like a different one?
Well, it's where I got my reservation for, and I'm also always looking for deals. So,
You reap what you have sown.
you know, I'm gonna have a nice trip to Chicago in this.
Stopping
Lots of
every
snack
hour.
breaks.
Stopping, yeah. I mean, like maybe you shouldn't be driving for more than 2 or 3 hours. This is all a cope. It's
Okay,
really-
this is how the Harris administration is going to market this because they are so into EVs. This is the thing. But like Wyoming at one point had banned the sale of EVs because they said we just do not have the infrastructure to support them. Part of it is the charging, but also you have to equip fire trucks differently. Like if a car gets in a crash and it's on fire, you can spray water on it,
Didn't
right?
Harris
But an EV,
say-
you have to spray like foam because the water will obviously conduct electricity.
No. It doesn't conduct electricity. It rapidly oxidizes the lithium ion,
Either way, the
causing
fact
an
that
exothermic reaction, which is very explosive. So you don't put alkaline metals in water. That is a no-no. So if a lithium battery gets punctured, it rapidly will oxidize, burst into flames. Then you're spraying water on lithium. And have you guys ever seen a lithium water reaction? Yeah, see, Sergio knows what I'm talking about.
Imagine how much money you would have to invest. Like one person in your town gets an EV, but you don't know what fire truck is going to show up there. Like I don't think it's as romantic as a lot of the left-wing progressive think it is.
I
They're like,
think-
well, just make everyone buy an EV and everything will be fine. No, so much of our culture and our infrastructure has to change to accommodate it. I'm not totally against them, but just like in this case, like it's not like you just walk out of a rental car.
It's also another leg of like control of movement. It's like, yeah, you can't drive as much and you can't go as far and you have to stop. Yeah, it's a control of movement as well.
I think Harris said she went to school on a school bus on an electric. She said she went to school on an electric school bus.
I really
Kamala
don't.
Harris
I don't.
Let me show you this video.
True.
A little bit too.
This is a video from T-Core, and first thing he's doing is taking a torch to a piece of lithium. So this is what happens. Lithium burns up pretty quick. Look at that. That's what's in your batteries. That's a lithium battery that he peeled open.
Wow.
And let's see if we get to the point where so here he is peeling open the lithium battery. These are run-of-the-mill lithium batteries you buy at the grocery store. And then he puts them in water. And this is why this is the danger. It literally burst into flames by touching water. So I could be wrong, but I think what's happening is the lithium is bonding with the oxygen in the water. I could be wrong. It's been a long time since I did the science.
Is Elon Musk involved in the PSYOP trying to get everybody to drive?
No, he wasn't allowed to be in the
vehicles?
call. Like they had some big meeting of like electric vehicle makers, and I think he tweeted about it being like, I am kind of known for this, and they really don't like Elon Musk.
Blaire, I wanted to ask because I got here so soon, and you are so significant, I feel like, online and in the right, as probably one of the most popular transgender right-wingers online. Can you tell me the significance of that and what role you think you and people like you play in the Republican Party and right-wing writ large?
I mean, I think just on an individual level, I sort of think of it as just like I'm a person who posted videos and started getting attention and it hasn't stopped. I don't know. I think that there's been a rise in popularity of LGBT people on the Republican side. There's a lot more influencers now in that vein. And when I started, there wasn't. There was maybe one or two others. Now there's a lot. You've seen Trump embrace it a lot. I think that it's more sizable of a voting bloc now than ever. So I think it's smarter rather than dumber to include them in some way. And also you think of like a lot of cultural forces. It's like sometimes it's not a matter of being against or for a certain cultural force. It's about sort of reining in which way it goes. So like there's a lot of conversation on LGBT right-wing social media about areas we have to moderate and, you know, things we have to pull back on, like things that leftists have sort of controlled the narrative over, whether it's trans stuff, gay stuff. And so I think more than an importance to the right, there's more of an importance to moderate the LGBT stuff and the excesses, especially when it comes to kids transitioning. That's really where I focus on. I don't focus on who I'm helping or benefiting. I just try to create the change that I want to see in the world. Like I don't agree with things like kids transitioning, and yet I find myself grouped in with this, you know, community of people who that's like a core value of theirs, and I just never related to that from the start. I didn't even have a turning point where I was like, I liked it, and then I didn't like it. It was always like that 1 + 1 = 2. That's bad for me. So it's more about controlling the narrative on that side, actually, more than anything else.
I know there's a lot of like Black MAGA influencers who feel incumbent upon them to try to reach out to the Black community because that's some of Trump's worst performing voting group. Same with the LGBT community. Do you feel like you try to reach out to, there's a role for you to play in outreach to that community for Trump, or just writ large and you don't want to pigeonhole yourself into like just trying to do outreach to that community specifically, if you understand what I'm...
Yeah. I think that if I just look at one of my objective impacts that I've had over the years, as just like a cultural force on that side, it's been that I just have red pilled a lot of people in the LGBT community. I have created a lot of voters in that voter block, however big it is also increasing. So I think it becomes more important. I don't know. I guess I just don't think too much about like, I'm trying to create this effect. I just try to call things as I see them. And a byproduct is, you know, I think I have opened a lane on especially YouTube, where there's just so many more now of people in that vein, which is good. And I think I just happen to be one of the first. And I think overall it's a net positive that people just feel more open to express themselves in a different way, because it is kind of a dark thing that there is an expectation to hold certain beliefs. Just the same way that Black people feel insulted by that. You know, when you have videos of Kamala Harris on Twitter saying, if Trump wins, you're going to have no rights if you're LGBT. I mean, that feels like abusive to me. It's a lot of gaslighting, a lot of feeling of ownership over a community that I just think is degrading.
You saw that video of the gay trans man who had an abortion?
Yeah.
I mean, and these two women, they're like, oh, if Trump gets elected, we're going to lose all of our rights, so we're going to vote for Kamala. And it's just like, you have no idea what you're talking about. You're just,
right.
It's just word diarrhea.
And I laughed because it's funny, but there is another lens you can look at it, which is like, it's really sad that there's like a person, regardless of what words are using to describe themselves, that's so fearful, and for sure. And also I think the media and also politicians that use and abuse these people and mobilize them for votes. It's sad. I saw like a very small person in a way, not in size, but in spirit because of that.
I will say, blame goes all around for sure, but parents are the front line.
Yeah.
And so a lot of what we've seen in this generation is parents sending their kids off to institutionalized learning facilities with pride flags everywhere, and then just being like, I can't believe this happened. Yeah. And that woman, the second one who says she got an abortion, she was like, my dad's really conservative and he's voting for Trump. And it's like, right. And this dad probably said, I got a daughter, okay, you're 5, off to the government learning facility to be indoctrinated by the state. And then now they're shocked to find out the state has made her into this.
But it's also rebounding for a lot of them, just like I was saying a few minutes ago about my nephew who's 18, and he's all of a sudden saying he's rejecting the idea of future vaccine mandates. And he also, by virtue of, him being my nephew, he's able to differentiate like, okay, all this stuff that my 45-year-old white, childless, weird teacher is telling me is what trans is. He's like, but Blaire's in my family, and that's not something that she agrees with, or people that are like Blaire. So I think that it is rebounding and people are waking up and rebelling against it too.
Yeah. I wanted to follow up with you and ask, because I do think there's a lot of turmoil in the Republican Party now with like the socially conservative leg and like the now, we'll call it more progressive LGBTQ leg. Do you feel pushback from that group? Do you think you guys can coexist in the same party? How would you respond to one of these guys who might say like you do more to normalize the trans issue than any left-winger could because right-wingers accept you? And many people perceive you as a woman, a biological woman.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's a matter of like, it's hard for me to skew my actual power because I'm living as me, I guess. And I just kind of see myself as, because I'm constantly, fighting against like the entirety of the left political establishment as it relates to LGBT issues. I don't really see myself as like gaining a lot of traction because they really have the cultural narrative. I guess we're starting to on the other side of it, trying to moderate these things. But what I mean is like, you could have that perception, and there's definitely a battle over, a Republican versus a traditional conservative or someone with religious values. Those things are not necessarily synonymous, especially when our guy's Trump, especially because he's just, I mean, you can sort of equate him with more traditional conservatism because he has like a foot in that world, but he also has like a foot in this more secular world. So I think maybe if we were under even like a George W. Bush or something, then I guess so. But it's just not really the party of super hardcore traditional conservatism anymore. And that's why a lot of, not even just LGBT people, or, a lot of other minorities and groups of people feel more comfortable on the right. And at the end of the day, I mean, it is more votes. So there's different ways to look at it. If you are a traditional conservative and you want the, direction of it to go in that direction, then you're going to feel at odds. But if you're someone who is more secular, which is a way faster growing, group of people than people who are clinging to the traditional Christian values, not there's anything wrong with them, then you're going to say that the Big Tent is a better argument. So
there are a lot, and I would say like a large portion of Trump's base are they're not fans at all of transgender ideology. They're probably not fans of Blaire's. They would actually argue that it shouldn't be allowed. There are a lot of people, and it's varying degrees. But what we're seeing is the alliance between moderates and the Republicans because the Democrats are psychotic, right? You've got default libs who don't pay attention and vote for Kamala and have no idea what's going on. They're standing behind her and cheering as she tells them all what she did to destroy their lives. That's the funniest thing. She's going like, prices are bad, gas is bad, rent is way up. All of it was under me, and the policies I literally voted for in the Senate and handed off to Joe Biden to sign, that was me. Vote for me. And they're like, yeah, wow. And then you have these like active liberal pundits who are more sociopathic. And so moderates, post-liberals, disaffected liberals, and people who normally don't align with Christian conservatism are now aligned with Republicans in voting because the left is crazy. I think it's a strong possibility that in 10 years, if with if Trump wins and the right makes great footholds, the Democrats will either dissolve, go insane, or eschew far leftism and force a correction to the moderate. Why? Because moderates now will start disagreeing with conservatives, and then will be offered up an alliance with moderate Democrats who are going to say, hey, wow, yeah, we're not that party anymore. Look at Republicans in the 2000s with George W. Bush. How many Republicans were like, we got to get the war on terror. We need the surveillance. We need the DHS. How many of these guys have come out now and said, we were wrong about all of that? Tucker Carlson's come out and said it quite a bit. So imagine 15, 20 years from now, the right has a massive stronghold in institutions. The far left has been completely disintegrated because they lose every step of the way. And you end up with more moderate Democrats now saying, I was completely wrong about all of that stuff with the lockdowns. Just like Tucker is not. And then moderates are like, okay, I don't align with conservatives in this way. And you get the pendulum swing.
That's also starting, by the way. I mean, it's been actually.
Oh, dude, the attacks on Joe Rogan.
Right. And then just speaking to people waking up that they were wrong about certain things on the left. It's like, I remember during 2020 and even through 2022, I was always very vocal against lockdowns and vaccine mandates. And it played over almost like a 60-40 thing in my audience because I do have a lot of liberal followers too. And now there's not any liberals in my audience that whenever I mention anything about lockdowns or anything like that, they're all in agreement. Like, yeah, that was some crazy stuff. And that was definitely wrong.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a political realignment of the parties. 10 years ago, you wouldn't have thought this many Hispanics are voting Republican. Yeah. And in 10 years from now, the Democrats will not be able to maintain their stranglehold on the black community, on black voters, on LGBTQ voters that they get 80% of plus in both of these groups. They won't be able to maintain these leads like they weren't able to maintain the leads with the Hispanic voters. So
I feel like it's just becoming Americans versus people who want the destruction of America. I mean, I think we're all very online people. And so we're aware of like, there's a faction on the right that wants this and a faction on the left that wants that. And all that's real. These are real people, of course. But on the ground level, when you just kind of exist in the world, most people are just normal people that just want to see the country prosper. And they might be wrong or correct about ways to achieve that. But I think the more anti-American and frankly anti-human that the left becomes, I think it just throws more people off. And so you do have way more moderate people on the right, which is going to upset people that are more so purists that want it to be on the traditional conservative side. But I mean, there's a lot of people hurting from leftist policies and leftist politicians and sort of the stranglehold they've had on culture. Mm-hmm. And they do need somewhere to go,
Yeah. And they don't think they can hide anymore the effect that.
No, they can't.
I heard you guys, I was listening to you guys while I was on the way here. You guys stopped talking trash about New York City and LA as soon as I showed up. Is there anything, I think you said you lived in LA before. Yeah, I did. Gavin Newsom was trying to clean up all the homeless shelters. And do you think this is just cosmetic or can you do anything enough to make you want to move back to LA?
Sometimes I get nostalgic about LA because I'd moved there pre-COVID and I lived in California my whole life before that, but it is pretty fallen. I mean, anything can happen. There's a universe where there's way more red counties this time around in California than last time. I think that's a certainty. Flipping red for sure, no, but it could get better. And I think also as more people become moderate and more people are hurt by these leftist policies, it kind of will force, I think, Democrat politicians to at least feign a little more moderation, which is why they're starting to steal Trump's policies, which you really can't point to any Trump policies that are radical or that are representative of any sort of extreme or fringe, regardless of how hard they try to paint them as that. I mean, they're very middle of the road, like speaking to normal people. Otherwise, Kamala wouldn't be stealing them. They
love to talk about in hyperbole when they speak of another Trump presidency. Yeah. It's never a particular policy. It's always the end of democracy or fascism is coming back, or it's I couldn't even fathom another Trump presidency. I was listening to a Nancy Pelosi interview with Ethan Klein earlier today, and that's what she said to him. She said, I couldn't you didn't even know what they're talking about. Or like, I like to keep tabs on all the Democrats. But she was saying, I couldn't even fathom another Trump presidency. And I'm thinking like with the co-equal branches of government and with the first Trump presidency already having happened.
You can't imagine a second.
I can't imagine what he could do, what he could accomplish. I'm assuming not much if he even was given a second term. So
they do speak in hyperbole. That's why it's just, he's going to take your rights. I feel like I have a pretty decent way to gauge where everything is just because I do have a mixed bag of followers. I think I am inherently more accessible to Democrats following me just because I'm trans, and then I'm more accessible to right-wingers following me because I'm not a Democrat. And like the only pushback I get, the only talking point is he's going to take away your rights. This is vague, invoking just emotion. And that's why they hinge on things like Project 2025, and they're desperate to attack him.
I
with
say
that.
that is cockamamie bullshit.
A lot of people buy it. A lot of Democrats.
I know, it's nuts. He was already president. We were like, okay, that was marginally good. No new wars. I haven't seen a marginally good president in my life.
Yeah, we didn't even really get a wall.
Right.
We got select bollard fencing in key areas.
I think he should hone in on the war thing more though, because I think that I don't know. It's like we could talk about trans stuff or black issues and all this stuff, but like when it comes down to it, a World War III is like a potential extinction event. I think he should really hone in on the fact that there was no new wars under me, and we ended up in multiple wars under Kamala.
I wish he talked more about the wall. I want more wall. Immigration,
but
stop being an issue. I feel like
Trump-
less and less the past few months.
Trump is running on the argument, and Kamala's running on the vibe.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So I don't know how you this is not a traditional election. Donald Trump is trying to make his argument. Argument may win out. I don't know. I think Vibe's got a good chance of winning.
But I think
totally
we've had
Brad.
examples of that in the past, right? I mean, this is the
Obama.
famous thing about the Nixon JFK debates. That if you saw JFK on TV, he looked better because he wore the makeup and he sounded better. But people who listened via radio thought Nixon had done better. I mean, I think that there is a division in the way people consume information, and Trump, maybe not right now. Maybe they're trying to get the momentum back, but like Trump does have a signature vibe. There is something there. There's a reason people are drawn to him. With the Kamala Harris, she's trying to tap into the vibes that kind of exist with what Gen Z, the progressives who have dogs instead of children. Like I don't know what it is, but it's just a different approach. And I think after the DNC, we will really start to get to see what the comparisons of if they're able to hold the attentions of whoever they think is their base.
They're going very Gen Z heavy. And I don't think Democrat Gen Z, they're already divided in half because of the Palestine stuff. Yeah. So that's already a split.
I think they're going Gen Z heavy because of mail-in voting. And they're going to go to dorms and they're going to ballot harvest. And they're like, this is a massive voting block that is untouched, that doesn't turn out. But when we turn out to them, we get their votes.
That's true. I think the thing that Trump has in his favor, though, is I think Gen Z Republicans want to vote. I think there's I think you see that in the amount of registrations right now on the Republican side too. I think people are excited to vote. I mean, I think a lot of people also made up their mind when he got shot. I think a lot of people were like, when can I vote? Right when that happened. Yeah. And I think that just because there's been this artificial sort of memory holding of the event, I think that doesn't mean it didn't actually affect real people on the ground. And I think a lot of people were really emotionally impacted by that. I mean, that is a vibe. It's like wanting the guy who just got shot, the underdog now, to win, I think.
I'm nervous Trump loses Pennsylvania.
Well, he's up now. The latest Emerson poll has him up. And so he's leading there. We'll see. But we're going to go to Super Chat. Smash the like button. Subscribe to this channel. Share the show. Become a member to support our work. To become a member, go to timcast.com. Click Join Us. That's how you do it. You can follow me on X, but let's read. I want to give a shout out to Alex Heshti. Sitting in the hospital with my wife, who just gave birth to our twin girls, watching Timcast. Never miss an episode. Bro, I respect that. I appreciate that. But I would not mind it if you turn the show off to be there for your family as your daughters are being born. But I do appreciate the support. That means a lot.
Yeah,
Mazel tov.
congratulations. Twins are amazing.
Congrats.
All right. Anonymous Horse says, Tim Walz was pretty nice to me. Think you guys should cut him some slack. Anonymous Horse was the username.
Oh.
You got to pay attention to the usernames to get the joke.
Was that real or fake, though?
That's fake.
Okay.
It's a response to the couch thing with JD Vance.
Okay.
I mean, the Tim Walz taco thing was so weird.
But there is the different level of integrity too, is that you only see the horse semen stuff from online kind of trollish people, whereas they're at the actual rallies talking about the couch.
John W. Kristen IV says, Milo is insufferable. He absolutely destroyed the Tommy Robinson interview. Never have him back on and let him fade back into being irrelevant. I liked the show. I thought I had fun. I thought Milo was funny. And I do think the only issue I had, and shout out to Milo, is that it's fine if he talks for a long time. If we can then say, okay, but now someone's going to chime in. It's that way. As soon as someone else would start talking, he would then do that thing where you go, oh, wait, no, yeah, and it's like you gotta. But I enjoyed him on the show. I thought he was funny. I don't know. But it is a mixed bag. A lot of people were like, Tommy needs to talk for 2 hours straight. Just let Tommy talk for 2 hours straight. And it's like, well, yeah, I agree. Tommy needs to talk a lot. But I think Tommy got out what he needed to get out in the show this morning.
And I don't think you would have any show where just one person talks for the whole time. I mean,
Right.
Why would you have them?
But
all
Milo
on?
was certainly won the award of talking the most this morning. Indeed. All right, let's grab some more. Donald Love says, meme Kamala Harris into existence. Sure. Kamala Harris?
Kamala Harris.
Robert Mara says, didn't a female Secret Service agent get pulled off Biden's detail for being uncomfortable with his nudity, allegedly?
Really?
I've heard that reported several times. He used to swim naked in the pool at the vice presidency residence.
Oh, grow up. It's the president.
Well, the vice president at the
Vice
time,
ever.
but
The breastfeeding thing was crazy. To leave the post to breastfeed is crazy.
why do we have breastfeeding
Dane-
agents in the field?
Dane Peterson says, I'm so glad Milo is on the show tonight. I was listening to the Culture War on my way home from work screaming, please shut up and let other people talk. But we knew, you know who Milo is, and we know bringing him on, and we know what kind of show it's going to be. It was going to be chaotic the whole time, but it was funny. You gotta, I understand people very seriously need and want Tommy Robinson to explain what's going on. This is very serious. He's calling it their January 6th. The show we booked was meant to be more, like we wanted Tommy to be here too. Milo had some calm and very serious points where he agreed with Tommy, called him a hero and things like that. But then it had its periods of pure chaos and silliness. So, that's what we were kind of going for.
Milo's a bit of a performer, and historically he's been a bit of a performer. I remember his old interviews when he was very viral.
People were saying they wanted to see him do on the chat. They were like, have him do college tours again. I mentioned this to him, and he's like, I'm 40, and that was all he said. That's like, so.
I remember those huge protests that Ben Shapiro and Milo used to garner, but now things have and Trump even, people don't protest Trump rallies anymore.
Yeah.
I miss those days.
A lot gets very bored.
I miss those days.
All right. Paul Tasco says, Tim, your meme analysis is getting way too meta. Equating a Hillary and Madonna meme from 2016 to Trump's chance of 2024 victory is a bit much. Please take a vacation. You can't go full crazy till November 6th. Literally, no. Wrong, sir. Saying that Madonna posting her and Hillary dancing is comparable to Trump posting him and Elon dancing is not saying Trump is going to lose the election because of one meme. I'm saying don't bring the Hillary vibes. When Trump made fun of Bill Barr and said, I'm removing lethargic from my statement, that's the meme energy we want. That's that's like the best roast I have ever heard in my life. I'm saying, whoa, hold on there. That's too Hillary. Don't do that. But there's a lot of Trump diehards who are like, no, let Trump do whatever he wants. And it's like, if Trump does a bad thing, there's got to be guardrails. Otherwise, he'll start doing Hillary stuff. We don't want that. And that's what I'm worried about.
It's not the harshest criticism. It's just a cringe video, in your opinion. It's not the harshest thing you could have said.
I like the original dancers and the song is good, but like Trump and Elon dancing together, it's like, come on, guys. This is not the meme that you need. The Trump doing the dance where he goes like this, you know how he does the thing with his arms, and it's just like the weirdest. That's funny. Mm-hmm. That's hilarious. When he was dancing with Aiden Ross, and he's like,
maybe it's Barron. Maybe Barron saw the AI or like Photoshop dancing video, and he was like, "Dad, this is great."
I don't think so.
Share it.
I read reporting that Barron was involved in setting up the interview with Aiden Ross.
He did.
Him and his buddy Bo.
I think he
Aaron's
said
buddy,
that
Bo?
in the live stream. He said, I'm here because of Barron.
Oh,
which is
there
cool.
you go.
I do think that Barron is sort of,
Tapped in.
and it's interesting because he is, a Gen Z 18-year-old. So theoretically, this is his first, not theoretically, it's his first election to vote in. So Trump actually has a tool at his disposal that Kamala literally does not have.
And
Maybe
Barron's a
Barron
meme.
watches Blaire White. Maybe Barron watches Timcast. Like,
Barron's a meme himself. There's a lot of viral videos on TikTok of especially younger people really seeing him and resonating with him.
Mm-hmm.
So
Barron's probably seen that meme of you in a bikini somewhere.
Trump probably has.
Trump probably has too.
Probably has.
all right, Koroag says, advice for Gen Z to get into politics. Also, I am an older Gen Z. I had a 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo. Lost it due to the issues in 2019, 2021. I bought it for $50K near Detroit. Similar units in the same complex are now $100K. None of us can afford anything anymore. Oh, it's asking, does anybody have advice for Gen Z trying to get into politics?
Join your high school and college and local Republican or Democrat or independent club.
Yeah,
I didn't do that, but I think that's a good way.
No, get involved with like local campaigns and network, like meet people and see what doors they can help you open.
All the debate kids turn into
All
politicians,
of them.
so I guess maybe that. I feel like we've had non-traditional routes through social media. But I know like people at my college who were in the Democrat or Republican clubs did have a lot of connections and were able to involve themselves on the Hill or on campaigns. So
It's like if you're interested in something, go there and be a part of it. And some of that is like
They grab interns from those clubs all the time. And if you want to, run for office someday, just start branding yourself online, I would say. And
Yeah.
That's
Is this Dom says, YouTube just took me off the stream and played a Blue Man Group video. Yep.
we're being hijacked by the Blue Man.
Not surprised.
That's crazy.
Taylor Stitt says, thoughts on Medal of Honor freedom comment. I heard it as him saying freedom was better because the recipient was unharmed. Others think different, it seems. What was his comment he made? I heard about it, but I don't know exactly what he was saying.
I don't know exactly either.
People were saying, like, how dare he say that, one medal is better than the other or something like that. I don't know. I didn't hear what he said.
I think it's manufactured outrage.
Probably. Yep. Let's grab another one. Mr. Leviticus the Sexy says, the Tim Walz white guy tacos thing is a great way to lose the rural Minnesota vote. We brag about how our hot peppers are to each other and how we prepare our wild game and wild caught fish. Rural Minnesota is a food culture. Yeah. I mean, it's like chili cook-offs, man. That's like a hokey white dad in an apron making chili. That's like, and of course it's seasoned.
Like I said, he could have been like, oh, Kamala, I make amazing taco casserole or pot dish or whatever
Right.
it is. He could have leaned into being Midwestern. Instead, he looked at all of his constituents who got him elected and said, I don't care about you. I'd rather be a bumbling white caricature for 15 minutes of fame. Let's see if this works, than actually have loyalty to the culture that I'm theoretically representing.
I have white guy tacos. What's that, tuna and mayonnaise?
No, black pepper is the hottest spice in Minnesota.
What is tuna and mayonnaise tacos? What is that?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, she
I don't think it's a
wants him to
thing.
play this character.
Right.
Yeah.
That's gross. This is all gross to me.
And it could have been an easy choice if they would have went in the direction you just said about it could have been like a racially unifying moment rather than like putting a race down in a way. It could have been the complete opposite effect.
Yeah.
But then again, the white guilt does resonate more than racial unity right now.
I think
What
they're
was the
kind of
context of
trying
that?
to recreate Obama-Biden's dynamic where it's like Obama is cool and he's younger, and then we have, sort of like well-meaning but slightly doddering Joe Biden who's next to him. And that's not the dynamic they have, and it's very, very weird to see white guilt Tim Walz stumble around trying to impress her.
They are trying to Obama her, like all the tweets. This is 08
Yeah.
energy. It's like, is it? I mean, I was a kid, but I don't.
No,
think
it's
it
not.
Feels that way at all.
They're trying to make her like Obama. It's
Yeah.
not working.
No, it's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, Obama had that cool and collected attitude. Kamala is, I don't know,
Obama had
Cringe.
change.
wine ant. Is that what
Kamala
people say?
Harris is brat. Obama had change.
Right, which is
Remember, like-
manufactured by like a British record label, right? Like it's not even authentic then. None of this that they've tried to tag her with is authentic.
Kamala's word is joy. They're doing joy. But the hope stuff also doesn't resonate with Kamala because we're coming out of her administration, whereas Obama came into 8 years of Bush and people were waking up to the Iraq war, issues and they wanted something different, whereas we've already been doing Kamala for 4 years now. It's been a nightmare.
Maybe this country does need 4 more years of Kamala. Oh God. Because
Can we survive 4 more years?
well, that's the point. When all that's left is the rubble, we just walk over and just pick it up.
If she won, she'd probably get another 4 years.
Right.
So it would be
12.
12 years.
That's
And then,
dark.
and then after everything is reduced to ash after World War III, we have free reign to build our mud huts.
Barron will rise from the ashes after
12 years.
their second term of Harris, God forbid.
Mark Clancy says, when you can get paid to attend Kamala rallies, how can she not have a lot of people there? Sounds like a good gig. I don't believe it. I don't believe people are being paid to go there. I hear this every single time, every election for my entire life. And then you go and ask people and they're like, no, I'm here because I want to be.
I cover these rallies almost nobody's there. Nobody there is being paid except
for
for the
Elad.
staff and the reporters there. But these Kamala Harris rallies are packed. That's just the fact of the matter. Bernie Sanders had a lot
do
of
they
people
say?
at his rallies. They mentioned Project 2025 more often than I thought they would.
Yeah.
And then do you go like, hey, that's not a thing?
Well, I'll ask him more about it, and it'll just be like a catch-all Republican, take our rights away, eat away at our democracy. So there's,
You know, you
it's
should-
all hyperbole.
You know what I would ask? I'd be like, do you feel, so I'd say like, why are you voting for Kamala? And say, oh, Project 2025. I'd be like, oh, okay. And what about Project 2025 worries you the most? Then I'd say something like, are you aware that the director of Project 2025 stepped down and Trump called the whole thing a hoax and says he doesn't want to be involved in it? What would you say to that? And then you've asked them that, I imagine, right? What do they say?
They will all keep blaming it on Trump, and they will just keep attaching to it. They don't care if he's denounced it. They don't care if the president stepped down. They'll just say this is a cover. They're coming for our rights. They're coming for abortion rights.
Right. But then afterwards you go, are you at all worried about being embarrassed that people online will see you saying something like, even though it's not true, I don't care anyway, it must be?
I'll press harder on Tuesday.
I know you don't ask those kind of questions, though.
I try not to be too aggressive because also you're online, you're around other people. When you ask a question they don't like, everybody around the people's ears perk up.
It hurts your chances of getting another interview.
I think she's going, Kamala Harris is going to Milwaukee on Tuesday. So hopefully we'll be there. Check out Timcast News on Twitter and Instagram for coverage of DNC riots and Kamala Harris rallies coming up.
They are
Oh,
never.
the DNC, dude, is going to be nuts.
Yeah.
I'm hoping.
Well, it's like yes,
Hey, you
hopefully.
I have such of a conflict of interest, but like,
No, we want it to be peaceful. And this is why I called, journalists call themselves vultures. This is why I didn't like being in that job, because the journalists are all cheering for the violence and the destruction.
at the RNC, there was hundreds of journalists when there were almost as many reporters as there were protesters. The Bolton stash doubles as like a leftist dirtbag stash. So I'm going to try to blend in a bit. Nobody knows me in Milwaukee.
You have your "I'm with her" shirt.
No, do you have one to lend me?
We'll craft one before you go.
Joel Drosselt, I don't know. I was let go from a game company for making a joke about racist milk. After being blackballed for the past 4 years, I'm taking back the reins. You guys and the second Seamus inspired me. My political art, Icky Politicky. Right on.
It's a good name.
Yeah.
I like that.
Andrew Ho says, in yesterday's show, which I will confess I only saw short of, but you were talking about the Trump New York hush money payment trial and a 1-year jail term. Not sure if you mentioned Benny Thompson's bill to remove Secret Service for presidents jailed for 1+ year. That's right. Yeah, that's the rumor, is that Riker's being prepped and Trump's going to get sentenced to a year or something.
Well, that's what Alex Jones said. Is that true?
Well, a bunch of people have been saying it, so I don't know.
We don't send our former presidents to jail in the United States, so that would be
Sure, we don't
Just to see
arrest
if we are
them.
still
We don't
the United
We don't
prosecute
arrest
him
his- We don't
either.
arrest his lawyers. We don't charge him. We don't accuse him of rape.
We don't go after the
convict him.
Simpleton a
We
lot.
go after everybody below them, but historically in the United States, Nixon was
convicted. What do you mean?
pardoned. He won't be sent to jail.
You think Biden?
Trump.
Why would they stop now?
I just don't believe they'll take that extra step. They'll convict him of something. They'll fine him, but
So
they wouldn't put the. They
He's
wouldn't
been
lock him up.
criminally charged in numerous states. He's been criminally charged at the federal level on more than one case. He's been convicted in New York.
I don't think he'll be sentenced to prison time. He could be convicted of these things.
All right, so I agreed. I thought it was going to be house arrest until Brennan Strzok said, why would they stop there? And I'm like, that's actually a good point. There is no logical assessment that after doing literally everything, like trying to seize his properties from him, that they would just be like, okay, no, we stop now. Like,
They
this
gave
makes
him
no
a
sense.
mugshot.
Well, it would be a bad standard to set, and Democrats should fear that DAs in Republican.
Sure, but it's a bad standard to set to convict him of a case with no underlying crime.
I agree. It was.
If they're going to do that, they're going to throw the brick in his face.
It's escalating even further to send him to jail, which I don't think they'll cross
Someone
that
shot
line.
him in the head.
Some people think they just tried to kill him. So I don't know if
Tucker
jail's
Carlson
hard.
said in September, the establishment elites and the intelligence agencies, he said, was the implication, there will be an assassination attempt on Trump. Alex Jones said something similar, but if you're not a fan of Alex, Tucker Carlson says it. The assessment is based on the attempts to stop Trump. Why would we now disregard every factor in what made Tucker Carlson think this was going to happen? That is to imply, with the latest video that got released of the assassination attempt, where all these cops are screaming like, "What the is the Secret Service doing? How did this happen? Yeah. We all told them. We told them. Where are they? They're not here. What's going on? Sounds real intentional. My point is simply this. Trump was convicted of 34 counts of a crime that doesn't exist on the books. It is not a statutory crime. They made it up. He's going to prison. They're going to put him in a jumpsuit. They're not going to stop. But by all means, I mean,
they'll at least try.
You can hold the opinion that this is the one time where they decide this is the line.
I think they're going to give him more of those stiff fines, like they gave him in that the case with the reporter or whatever. But
well, we shall see. We shall see.
Who's Tucker's source? His father? How does he always have all these great?
His source for what?
For saying that Trump was going to get assassinated or something.
His opinion, based on the fact that they've done everything from impeaching him twice, accusing him of rape, charging him in numerous states, charging him at the federal level several times, charging him with 34 felonies. He's like, man, at this level, we're heading towards an assassination scenario.
I feel like there was a distinct vibe, like the day it happened, that like, oh, this was a long time coming. Like it felt like an inevitability when it happened. Like it made sense with the trajectory.
With everything they've been doing to him, yeah, a lot of people thought this was going to happen. But, you know, we will see. We will see. Maybe Elad's right. Okay.
He's healed up so quickly, too, so I feel like it's been pigeonholed aggressively because of that. He doesn't even have the ear bandage.
See,
he's such a stud and heals so well. Like a Wolverine, Trump, that guy.
This is Trump's problem. I've mentioned, because Trump doesn't have the get your hands dirty mentality. And so, and that's a good thing. The left say he's going to steal. Okay, I'll tell you this. If Trump really was the fascistic, evil, dirty guy, you know what he'd do? He would have went to his doctor and he would have been like, how is it? It's fine. It's a skin graze. We're gonna bandage it up and it'll be healed just fine. Trump would have went, cut a chunk out. Leave a scar, make it bad. And then he would have had him clip a piece of the flesh off. That way, every single time he went on a show, you'd have a damaged ear.
That'd be so badass in his like political thing, his physical, like his eye patch equivalent.
Or he'd wear something forever so you could never forget they tried to kill him. Trump immediately heals up and he goes right back to normal and acts like it didn't happen.
That would be the maniacal person's choice.
Exactly.
To play it up.
Because Trump is not that.
Yeah.
But well, it's Friday night, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to wrap it up there. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, share the show. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. You can follow Timcast IRL. Go to timcast.com, click join us, become a member. Blaire, do you want to shout anything out?
Just follow me on all platforms. I'm doing a tour starting September 11th, a podcast tour, doing my tour in 13 different cities across America and Toronto, Canada. So look for tickets for that. Other than that, just follow me, I guess.
Right on.
Blaire, I hope they don't protest you in New York when you go, but if they do,
they did last time.
I'll be there to check it out. I'm Elad Eliyahu, a reporter here at Timcast News. Please check out our Twitter and Instagram. It's at Timcast News. I'll be covering the DNC all week next week and Kamala Harris to boot. I want to apologize to the audience and Tim for showing up late. If I'm ever back again, I promise I will never be late. Or I don't know, some of you probably like that I was late, but I won't be.
We have to make fun of EVs,
so at least
which you're now going to buy, I'm sure. You love EVs. He's a huge convert, guys. I'm Hannah-Claire Bremlow. I'm a writer for SCNR.com, Scanner News. Like Elad said, you can find our work at Timcast News on the internet. I want to say a really quick shout out to Shane Cashman and Nancy Cashman. I guess they both work here, but he's definitely with the Scanner team. And they had their third baby tonight, second daughter. So huge.
Mazel tov, Shane.
Congrats, Shane.
If you want to follow me, I'm HannahClaire.B on Instagram. I'm HannahClaire.B on Twitter. Thanks for everything you guys do. Have a good night.
And also, I'm just going to shout it out. Speaking of EVs, I'm picking up my Cybertruck. It's getting delivered on next week. Next week, I'm going to have my very own. And there's only one reason I got it. It's bulletproof, like mostly.
Not the windows. The windows?
Yeah. So apparently, I think it's handgun calibers and .22 long rifle. So anything crazy than that doesn't work. So they say. We'll see. But thanks for hanging out, everybody. It's going to be a fun and chill weekend. Relax, enjoy yourself, and we'll see y'all on Monday.